Mom got beaten up by Dad again. Dad kicked her in the chest, and she flew over 2 meters before slamming into the wall of the courtyard. My younger brother was playing a game in the living room, shouting, "Go, what a lousy player, go back to farming." Mom clutched her chest, looked up, and, as always, searched for me. She found it. Lynn. I retracted my gaze at the kitchen door, holding the porridge I had taken 2 sips from, and stepped into the living room. My mother was stunned. In the past, whenever she was beaten and called my name, I would immediately drop whatever I was doing, rush over, and stand in front of her, using my small frame to confront my tall father. A cold smile played on my lips. Never again, even if she were beaten to death, I wouldn't help her once more. I was reborn. In my previous life, upon receiving my mother's call, I rushed home despite my homeroom teacher's attempts to stop me. What awaited me was not a warm embrace from my family, but my father raising a wooden stick high above his head. With one strike, the frail me stumbled, my forehead hitting the doorframe, blood gushing out. With another strike, I couldn't hold on any longer and fell to my knees on the concrete floor, the sound of bones cracking echoing in my ears. Mom cried out, begging him to stop, pleading with my brother to help persuade our father, but my brother was busy playing ranked games. "It's the promotion match," he shouted at the top of his lungs. "Get lost," and shoved his mother away, drunk and staggering. My father's every strike landed precisely and solidly on me as if guided by eyes, spitting blood. I asked my tearful mother, unwilling to accept it, "Mom, why did you?" Before I could finish speaking, blood gushed out, too. "In my previous life, I wanted to ask why you harmed me. I fought with my father time and again for you, escaped his frugal lifestyle for you, and gave up the college entrance exam I cared about most for you, yet why did you harm me?" A month after being reborn, I finally understood. My mother doesn't love me, she loves Eric, her patriarchal grandfather, her grandmother who only calls me a burden, and even the man who beat her so badly she couldn't get out of bed for 3 days. But not me. I was nothing more than her tool. She exploited our deep mother-daughter bond and my frail body to shield her from all the punches and sticks. She watched me get beaten, perhaps thinking to herself, "How nice. Today I don't have to feel pain." Father walked into the living room, and not long after, Mother limped in, battered and bruised. Half of her face was swollen, blood dripping from the corner of her mouth, and the hatred in her gaze at me was unmistakable, as if all the suffering she endured was brought upon her by me. "Lynn, you—" I didn't wait for her to finish. I abruptly stood up and walked out. "I'm full, Dad. Let me get you some more rice." My voice was as calm as still water. The man was taken aback for a moment, then his face broke into a satisfied smile. "In the past, I frequently opposed him for my mother's sake, and he threatened more than once to kill me. This ungrateful daughter and burden, I should have anticipated it. How could my father ever apologize to me? He has always looked down on me, and he despises me to the core. How foolish of me to believe my mother's lies and rush home without a second thought." 3. Before leaving for school, my mother, despite her injured body, chased me to the village entrance. She held my hand and repeatedly urged me to take good care of myself at school, and to call her if I ran out of money. I pretended to be moved and replied, "I will, Mom, you go back now." As I turned around, I sneered inwardly. In another life, she would still do the same, giving me words of concern and money to her brother. In my previous life, every time she did this, I was deeply moved, believing she loved me immensely. So when my father beat her, I rushed forward without hesitation, confronting my father and taking the blows and sticks that were meant for her. After returning, I casually watched my brother play a game, praised his smooth gameplay, and he proudly told me he was a national server player, then showed off his new skins. I checked online and was shocked to find that the skin costs over 1,000. Where did Eric get so much money? My allowance is 50 for 2 weeks, and I often go hungry. With no other choice, I had to give up vegetables, soup, and noodles, eating steamed buns with pickles morning and night, and drinking plain water when thirsty. As soon as I asked my mom for an extra 10, she started wiping her tears, saying the crop yield this year was bad, and how much Dad had lost gambling again. "Oh, you can't afford to give your daughter an extra $10 for living expenses, but you have money to spend over 1,000 on skins for your lazy son." 4. As soon as I got back to school, the first thing I did was ask my desk mate for a loan. My desk mate touched my forehead, looking puzzled. "You don't have a fever." I looked at her expressionlessly. "Are you lending it or not?" She pulled her hand back. "I'll lend it," and quickly fished out a 100 yuan bill from her backpack. "Here." I reached out to take it, but she pulled it back in an instant. I was puzzled. She waved the money. "Let's get one thing straight. How did your iron-willed nature suddenly change?" Grace used to worry I'd go hungry, so she'd deliberately buy extra bread and milk, pretending she couldn't finish them and giving them to me, then acting like she had extra pocket money and asking if I needed any. When my mom heard about it, she cried and said, "How could you borrow money from others? People who don't know better might think I'm a stepmother, being harsh on you." After that, I politely declined my deskmate's kindness. My deskmate was really mad at me, and she ignored me until the college entrance exam. I'm hungry, I said, deliberately lowering my head so she could see my thin shoulders. I'm so hungry it hurts my stomach, and I can't even sit still in class. As I lowered my head, I must have looked like a pitiful wretch to her, no matter how well I did in studies. I still had to swallow my pride and ask others for money just to get something to eat. All right, here you go. I carefully wrote an IOU, but she didn't even look at it before crumpling it up and tossing it away. With the help of my deskmate, I could finally eat enough, no longer turning pale from stomach pain during class. The homeroom teacher was very pleased. Unlike my deskmate, who gave me money directly, he brought some food from home, saying his wife had made too much and he couldn't finish it. If he threw it away, his wife would be upset, so he asked me to help him out. I looked at the young, gentle man with black-framed glasses, pursed my lips, and took the steaming dumplings from the table, forcing myself to swallow them one by one, holding back my tears. Isn't it delicious? I nodded. It's delicious, but I didn't taste anything. 5. In the first mock exam, my score improved by 39 points, jumping from 106th to 83rd in the grade. My deskmate exclaimed, "Wow, Lynn, you're amazing. It's easy for a struggling student to improve, but for a top student, it's often next to impossible. Even a penny can stump a hero, and that's us overachievers." My deskmate no longer calls me a top student. She now bows and says, "You're a genius." "I truly admire you," I smiled and said. "I owe my progress to you, Grace." I thanked her from the bottom of my heart. In my previous life, I washed dishes at a small restaurant after evening self-study just to make a few bucks. The winters in the north are as cold as an ice cellar. I wore a tattered padded jacket with exposed cotton, my hands submerged in icy water, and my frostbitten fingers were so badly infected they used pus. I didn't make much money, but my hands were almost crippled, trembling so badly I could barely hold a pen, and when it got warmer, my hands felt like thousands of ants were gnawing on them, so unbearably itchy that I rolled around on the bed. My academic ranking plummeted from around 100 to over 500. Grace, feeling a bit embarrassed, blushed slightly. She coughed into her hand, pretending to be casual. "Come on, we don't need to be so formal with each other." I curved my lips into a smile. In this life, I not only improved my own grades but also shared my notes with Grace and my classmates multiple times. Within a few days, my desk was filled with snacks, bread, milk, chocolate, and even warm roasted sweet potatoes. I didn't refuse like I did in my previous life. Foolishly, I accepted everything. In my previous life, when my mom found out, she brainwashed me at home. "Lynn, we may be poor, but we can't be without integrity. If you keep accepting things from others, what will they say about you behind your back? To hell with integrity. Why can't I accept the kindness I earned through my own efforts?" 6. On my day off, I lied about finding a part-time job and refused to go home. My mom was sobbing uncontrollably on the other end of the phone. "Lynn, your dad went out to gamble again. He won 200 the other day, got so excited, and stayed up all night yesterday. Not only did he lose the 200 he won, but he also lost over 2,000 more. He blamed me for urging him to come home, saying it ruined his luck. As soon as he got home, he picked up a stick and started beating me, Lynn. It hurts so much. My bones are broken. It was the same as in my previous life at this time. Dad lost money again playing cards and took it out on Mom. I took several hits from Mom and curled up in bed all night in pain. I pleaded with her to divorce Dad during the day. What did she say? She said, "If I leave your dad, what will happen to you and your brother? A child can't be without a mother, nor without a father." Now thinking about it, it's hilarious. Did I really have it good just because I had a mom and a dad? "Mom, I advised you to get a divorce, but you didn't. Since you chose not to, you'll just have to endure it." Who doesn't argue in their household? Who doesn't have a moment of impulsiveness? I returned to her word for word the things my mom from my previous life had said. The person on the other end of the phone fell silent. "Mom, phone calls are expensive, so I'll hang up first." Without hesitation, I hung up the phone with a click. After giving the shopkeeper a dime, I turned and left, ignoring his strange look. Grace outside saw me come out and handed me a box of Odin. I accepted the thanks. "Did your mom cry to you again?" she asked me. "Yeah, same old." Grace rolled her eyes, clearly disdainful. "Doesn't she get tired of it? Refusing to divorce, constantly pouring her sorrows to you. Is she treating you like a daughter, or just an emotional dumpster?" "Lucky for you, you've got a strong mental fortitude. If it were me, going through this over and over, I'd have cracked by now. Yes, she never treated me like a daughter. I was just a handy umbrella she had grown accustomed to in her tough times. When the umbrella wanted to soar, she couldn't allow it. She wanted me to rot in the mud with her. 7. My English essay was passed around the whole class. The last big question on my math exam was passed around the whole class. My notes for all subjects were passed around the whole class. The math representative wearing black-framed glasses similar to the homeroom teachers, held my joint exam math paper and showed a look of envy and jealousy. Lynn, I sometimes really suspect you've been possessed. How can someone improve so much in such a short time? Hey, it's all thanks to the whole class. He looked puzzled. I fished out a bottle of AD calcium milk from the desk. I used to be calcium and nutrient deficient, so my brain couldn't function well. Now that I'm not deficient anymore, I've become smarter. Want some? The math representative pushed back the AD calcium milk with a look of exasperation. He adjusted his glasses on the bridge of his nose in a pretentious manner and said, "Thanks, but my IQ balance is more than sufficient." Fine, I shrugged. The next morning, the two tall guys in the back row of the class each placed 2 packs of AD calcium milk and a bottle of calcium tablets on the desk with a grin. I picked up the calcium tablets, completely baffled. I was just joking around. Why did they take it seriously? Eat from 100 homes, repay 100 debts. There are too many people asking me questions. If I explain one by one, I won't finish even in 3 days and 3 nights. I simply grabbed one of their 5-3 books, walked up to the podium, and quickly wrote out the solution process. Any more questions? Next one if not. The young homeroom teacher stood outside the classroom, smiling as he watched the lively activity inside. This is the most enthusiastic class he has ever taught. All of this is thanks to Lynn. 8. Wow. It feels like my bones have become stronger, and I'm no longer that sickly, frail little chick. Sometimes, when I throw a few punches in the air, I feel like I could take down a bull. 9. During winter break, I lied and said I was going to work at an electronics factory in the South. My mom naturally didn't want to. Every winter break, during the days before and after the new year, when men and women who worked away from home returned to the village, my dad would disappear for days on end, claiming he hadn't seen someone in a long time. He'd spend all his time at someone else's house, gambling and playing mahjong like crazy. He'd have my mom deliver his meals, if she was even a minute late, or if the dish didn't suit his taste in color or flavor, or if her hair was messy, she was wearing pajamas, or her shoes were dirty, he'd beat her up. My mom was like a fish. And my dad always found endless faults with her. In the winter break of my previous life, my dad came home drunk after losing money, picking a fight with my mom. When she quietly retorted, he hurt her. He kicked out with 1 foot, breaking 3 of my mother's ribs. My mother was vomiting blood, and I was so scared that I ran all over the village, begging everyone I could to help me get her to the clinic in the countryside. I tried to persuade her to divorce him again. She cried nonstop, lamenting her hard life, cursing her husband's cowardice, her son's unfilial behavior, and her in-laws' mistreatment. But when it came to divorce, she stopped crying and closed her mouth. She held my hand and said, "It's okay if Mom suffers a bit. I don't want you and your brother to suffer." Mom, when I make money, I'll buy you a pair of knee pads so it doesn't hurt so much when you kneel on the ground. To my brother, when I make money, I'll buy you some skins. Dad, your belt needs replacing. What kind do you want? I'll buy you one as soon as I get paid. The old belt broke when he hit Mom with it. The father and son laughed and assured me to work in peace, urging me to leave quickly, saying Mom would definitely not bother me again. My dad even gave me $100 out of the blue, telling me to buy something to eat on the way and not to starve myself. I walked out with my suitcase, not looking back. 10. The homeroom teacher found a place to run a tutoring class, free of charge, with students from the 2 classes he teaches. The boys and girls from the neighboring class exclaimed exaggeratedly when they saw me. Whoa, Lynn. What is this, Lynn? A boy circled around me, his eyes wide. Did you get plastic surgery? His classmates pulled him back. You got sick and left your brain at home. Who gets plastic surgery to get fatter? If this were said to another girl, she would definitely be upset. I'm happy. From 1, 6 meters and less than 80 pounds, to 1, 63 meters and 98 pounds. I couldn't be happier. After gaining weight, even breathing feels sweet. The homeroom teacher came in and scolded the boy who had just misbehaved, who slunk back to his seat. Grace leaned closer to me and said, "He's still looking at you." I raised an eyebrow. Those boys. Over the 20-plus days of winter break, I gained knowledge, made new friends, and, received a few love letters. I returned each love letter, explaining that I had no interest in romance. My eyes and mind were entirely devoted to my studies. The boy who immediately accused me of getting plastic surgery blushed furiously. He was very tall and thin, and his skin, perhaps due to illness, was several shades fairer than other boys. When he blushed, it was particularly noticeable. He stammered, I also love studying. By the way, what's your dream school?" I mentioned the name of a 985 university. He exclaimed in surprise, "I thought it would be Tsinghua or Peking University. You're overestimating me." No. At this rate of progress, it really might be possible. Thanks for the kind words," I said with a smile. 11. Just like in my previous life, My mother had 3 ribs broken by my father. By the time I found out, winter vacation was already over. It couldn't be helped. There were 4 of us in the family. My dad had a phone, my mom had a phone, and my brother even had the latest model. I was the only one without one. I once tentatively asked my mom for one, but as soon as I finished speaking, her eyes welled up with tears, as if I had wronged her. She wiped away her tears and said the family was broke. All because my dad had gambled away everything. She worked herself to the bone in someone else's greenhouse, barely making 70 yuan a day at most. My heart ached so much that I swallowed back the words that had almost left my mouth. Even the thought of settling for a second-hand one. My father came to the school demanding the money for his belt. I stammered. My brother told me our mom broke her ribs and needed money urgently. So I gave him all of it. The man immediately turned livid and started cursing. Let her be, she'd be better off dead. You wasteful girl, you've earned so much money and all of it goes to that sickly woman. I've held this family together for so many years, and you've never repaid me. I'll beat you to death, you ungrateful wretch. He raised his foot to kick me, just as he had done countless times at home. The boys in the class burst out. What's going on? 3 of them, all over 6 feet tall. And a shorter one still inside, leaning out the window and shouting, "Uncle, domestic violence is illegal, you know." My dad straightened his neck and said, "I'm disciplining my own daughter. None of your business, you little brats who haven't even grown hair yet." The rest of his words trailed off noticeably under the fierce glares of 3 tall, burly boys. The man shrank back slightly. I found it amusing. That's just how he is. Bullying the weak and cowering before the strong, at home. He would beat my mom and me at the drop of a hat, but outside, when he lost money playing cards, he turned red in the face and neck, yet wouldn't dare utter a word. The homeroom teacher and the physics teacher arrived. The homeroom teacher was refined, while the physics teacher was a rough and tumble guy, standing at 8 meters tall with a 8-meter presence. "What are you doing? Go back." The physics teacher's words were directed at the 3 boys, but his sidelong glance was on my father. My dad immediately became even more timid. He hunched over, forcing a smile. "Hello, teacher. I just need to have a quick word with my daughter." Done. The physics teacher's presence commanded respect without any need for anger. Yes, all done." My dad swallowed hard, turned around, and scurried off like a dog with its tail between its legs. 12. I did give Eric money, 100, but he wasn't satisfied. He wanted at least 1,000. I beat around the bush. I told him I got scammed by a shady agent, almost couldn't make it back from the south. We agreed on 3,000, but after over 20 days of work, I only got less than 1,000. He wanted me to get the rest back. I said they were a bunch of burly guys, and they even had a Tibetan Mastiff. I was too scared, so I suggested he go instead. He cursed and complained, making no mention of leaving, and demanded the remaining 700 from me, saying with complete confidence, "Mom loves you the most." I laughed in anger. Yes, Mom loves me the most. So to put her mind at ease, I've been eating well, sleeping well, and dressing well during my time at the electronics factory. Eric jumped up. Don't say it. But even though he's 7 meters tall and weighs 170, he can jump up to 8 meters. You actually spent the money. Yes, I lowered my head, struggling to suppress a smile. Mom repeatedly urged me to take good care of myself. She said that if I take good care of myself, she would die content. This isn't something I made up. It's what my dear mother constantly nags me about. Even if I died 100 times, I would never forget. Later, I heard that my mom fainted, and it was only by the grace of a neighbor who found her barely breathing and rushed her to the clinic in the village that she managed to survive. My dad and my brother kept passing the blame. My dad told my brother to take care of my mom, but my brother was too engrossed in his game and unplugged my mom's medical equipment to charge his phone. My mom, whose ribs had pierced her lung, creating a hole, almost didn't make it and passed out. My dad hit my brother and called him an ungrateful son. My brother, not backing down, cursed back. He's in his 3rd year of middle school. Hasn't learned much from his books, but has picked up a lot of foul language. This infuriated my dad, who grabbed a stick and chased him out of the house. The 2 of them ran all over the village. In the end, it was an aunt who had some connection with my mom who couldn't stand to watch anymore. She volunteered to go to the hospital to take care of my mom, and thankfully, she pulled through. 13, no matter how chaotic things got at home. I focused solely on studying the classics. The 2nd mock exam was soon upon us, and students who had spent the winter break cramming were eager to show their skills. When the results of the 2nd mock exam came out, Grace hugged me and cried her heart out. I made it. Her desk mate turned around to tease her. Basketball, soccer, she laughed through her tears. Oh, stop it. I made it into the rankings. Not just Grace, over 90% of the class made progress. The remaining 10% either refused to study or were like the math representative. Who is hard to improve? Sometimes. Just maintaining progress is a major achievement. Teachers from other classes came to observe ours, hoping to uncover the secret to the entire class's remarkable progress. After listening, they were left speechless. Your class's enthusiasm for learning is truly impressive. That's right. Whenever someone isn't paying attention, the math class representative would push his glasses up and say, "Studying isn't the only way out, but if you don't study, you might end up like Lynn before, barely able to afford food, starving to the point of skin and bones." The other students all covered their ears. "Stop it. I'll study. Isn't that enough?" And my desk mate Grace, she's a real character, not studying hard. Do you think you're doing justice to your mom who stayed up late organizing your notes, or to her who went from eating 8 meals a day to just 3? Me, when did I ever eat 8 meals a day? She pinches my chubby cheeks. See? All this is thanks to everyone. If you don't study hard, Lynn's mother will be sad. If she's sad, she won't eat. If she doesn't eat, she'll lose weight. Do you want a bony Lynn weighing over 70 pounds, or the current beautiful Lynn weighing over 100 pounds? The boys and girls in the class nodded. Grace is right. We still need Lynn at over 100 pounds. 70 pounds is too scary. The class next door said that if Lynn's mother loses a pound, they'll snatch her back to their class. Me, can we not call her mom? It feels weird. 14. I've made progress again as the results of the third mock exam are out. I jumped from 29th place in the grade in the second mock exam to 10th place. All the teachers are beaming with joy. The reason? Our class is an ordinary one, yet it has 5 students in the top 50 of the grade, leaving the 2 elite classes with nothing to boast about. As I exited the cafeteria, someone blocked my path. I moved left. They moved left, I moved right, they moved right, I stood still. "Classmate, is there something I can help you with?" The boy was handsome, but his words completely ruined his charm. "Lynn, you must have cheated." I turned cold. "Show evidence before you accuse someone." Some classmates noticed the commotion over here. "Hey, isn't that Jeremy? So handsome, so handsome." "Oh, this is going to be good." I frowned. Jeremy's name is probably familiar to about 80% of the students in the school. His excellent academic performance is one thing, his well-off family is another, and his good looks are especially important to the younger girls. The Olympiad class and the regular class are located in different areas of the school, so students from the regular class rarely see their peers from the Olympiad class. Their teachers have designed a completely different schedule for them to maximize the use of every minute, aiming to avoid the crowds caused by regular class students during breaks and after school. It must have been quite a challenge for him to pick a time when they hate most, right after school, to block me. 15. Jeremy suspects I cheated, and he asked me to redo the third mock exam paper for him. I told him to get lost. Grace said he probably feels bitter about being pushed out of the top 10. None of my business. I threw the papers at his face. "Why don't you do it again? Once you're done, I'll grade it for you." Jeremy bent down to pick up the scattered papers, calm and composed, and walked into Class C13 of the regular track. The onlookers were dispersed by the math class representative. I have no idea what Jeremy said to his teacher, but somehow they allowed him to sit in the regular class all day doing nothing but working on old papers. Once finished, he collected them and handed them to me. The classmates who initially mocked him grew silent, and I, holding the papers, smiled. How wonderful. This is the life I should be living, not worrying every day about whether my mom is being beaten, if my brother is studying well, or if my dad is gambling again. I'll correct it. I spent half the night going through his exam paper question by question, noting down uncertain scoring points like reading comprehension and essays in a notebook. The next day, when Jeremy came to ask for his score, his paper was being passed around the whole class. I stood at the podium, writing his Chinese essay on the blackboard. Wow, this essay is freaking amazing. And that last math problem, those smart people's brains are just different from ours. I tapped the blackboard with a bamboo stick. All right, look at the board, analyzing Jeremy's Chinese essay word by word for the whole class. This guy is impressive. Apart from the unchangeable predetermined answers, he offered different perspectives on other things like essays. The Chinese teacher came over, pretending to cough, and that's when I noticed Jeremy standing behind her. She winked at me and gave a subtle thumbs up. I once again made a name for myself. Jeremy didn't make me retake the test. He swapped his paper for mine. 16. My mother was brutally beaten, her internal organs ruptured, 3 days earlier than in her previous life. It said that my father was furious because she gave money to my brother to top up his game. He cursed her as a wasteful woman and kicked her. Not satisfied, he grabbed whatever was at hand and threw it at her. A heavy wooden chair struck her back, and my mother immediately vomited blood and fainted, worried that someone might die. The neighbors hurriedly called 120 and 110. My dad was taken away. My mom was hospitalized again. Thanks to the rescue efforts, her life was saved. I must say, my mom has a strong life force. My younger brother dropped out of school and came to me, asking me, a student about to take the college entrance exam, not to go to school either, but to go to the hospital to take care of mom. I glared coldly at him. Dad, and you spent all the family's money. Now that dad is in the police station, it's your turn to take care of her. Eric jumped up. Lynn, what are you saying? I'm about to take the high school entrance exam. Oh, congratulations then. Grace beside me crossed her arms. Your sister is about to take the college entrance exam. Only 5 days left. Behind Grace stood 4 boys from our class, all of them not wearing their uniforms, looking menacing. Eric took a step back, pointing at me and shouting, Lynn, that's your mom. She's always been so good to you, and now she's injured and can't move. Aren't you going to take care of her? Yes, she's my mom. When we kill a chicken, there are 2 drumsticks, one for you and one for dad. When dad beats her, she always calls me, not you, the son who's 5 feet 7 inches and 170 pounds. When I got beaten up and asked her for medicine, she gave me expired stuff and told me to use it sparingly. She gives you 500 for living expenses, and me 50. On top of that, she buys you a 1,000 yuan down jacket, 1,000 yuan brand name sports shoes, 1,000 yuan game skins, and for me, a 50 yuan cotton coat from the last century that even an 80-year-old woman wouldn't wear, shoes with soles as hard as rocks that cost always between 10 and 20, a bag of loose sanitary pads for 5 yuan that fall apart and crumble, and underwear for less than 10 yuan that someone else has worn. She's been so good to me. Eric was speechless for a long time. After all, she's your mother. Without her, how could you have grown up? The hot June wind brushed against my reddened eyes, and my heart felt icy cold. You're right, so I took the beating for her, even gave my life for her. No, I stared him down. Eric, it's your turn. Eric was scared, his plump body shrinking into a ball. What are you talking about? Life and death nonsense. 17. In my previous life, I died on the day of the college entrance exam. This time, I successfully entered the exam hall. 18. After the exam, a woman in a fiery red cheongsam waved at me. Lynn, I ran towards her. She handed me flowers, hugged me, and said, good child, you've worked hard. Auntie, my nose tingled, my voice choked, and just then, an inappropriate sound interrupted my half-sob. Oh, it's Auntie. I thought it was Mom. Mom, you said so, didn't you? Grace looked at her mother with a distant gaze. Her mom had promised her a surprise after her exams, and she was so excited that she couldn't sleep until the early hours of the morning. Right now, this surprise is truly a surprise. Grace's mother gave her daughter a reproachful look. What are you being so silly about? It was you who told me to be nice to Lynn. Now that I am, you're not happy, just like your dad. So hard to please. Grace grumbled. Don't use my dad as a shield. I shoved the flowers over. What? For you? You took the flowers my mom gave you and gave them to me. You really know how to borrow flowers to present to Buddha. Just tell me if you like it or not. I like it. I like it. On the days I didn't go home, I stayed at Grace's place. Her mom is a very gentle and understanding person. Her dad doesn't talk much, and Grace says her dad is a total wife worshipper. At the dinner table, Aunt rarely asked about Grace's grades, and Uncle never complained about how tired he was. Instead, they talked more about interesting people they met or funny things that happened that day, or, it's getting cold. Will it snow this winter? Spring has arrived. And the flowers at school are so beautiful. It's only May, yet it's already so hot. Grace's home is always filled with laughter and joy. Aunt's eyes sparkle, Uncle's eyes sparkle, and Grace's eyes sparkle. And with me, stars appeared in my eyes as well. Let's go. We're going home. As I turned, I noticed Jeremy under the tree, smiled, and waved goodbye. Postscript. During Lynn's freshman year, David, who had tearfully sworn to heaven that he would change, reoffended less than a month after being released from detention. He locked his wife, who was only wearing underwear and had been beaten to the point of a broken bone, outside in the bitter cold of the 9th month of winter, with snow covering the ground, refusing to open the door no matter how loudly she pleaded. Mary had no choice but to decide to return to her parents' home, limping and blinded by the heavy snow. She fell and hit her head on a brick buried under the snow, rendering her unconscious. By the time someone found her, Mary had frozen solid. Not a trace of life remains. David was taken away by the police again. The elderly couple, Lynn's grandparents, who had gone to live a happy life with their daughter, called their granddaughter in tears, begging her to find a way to get their son out of detention. Lynn had only one thing to say: my mother is dead. From now on, my surname is Liu. A 70-something-year-old woman viciously berates her granddaughter. They wanted to find the person, but they didn't even know where they were attending college. David was sentenced to 7 years and 10 months in prison. Eric was wailing loudly, and the female police officer assumed he was grieving for his mother, repeatedly comforting him. He said, my mom's dead, and you've locked up my dad, who's going to do my laundry, cook for me, and give me money now. Let my dad out, and put Lynn in his place to serve his sentence. The female police officer's face turned cold. She forcefully pushed away the chubby boy, then took out a tissue with disgust to wipe the spot he had touched. Eric tried to find his sister, but couldn't. Her teachers and classmates all gave the same response. They didn't know where Lynn was. He threw a tantrum, only to be dragged out by the school security. Actually, Lynn's name was written on the wall, followed by the top 10 universities in the national alumni ranking, but he didn't know that. He didn't know his sister was an excellent student, and he didn't know which university his sister dreamed of attending. He could only roll around in the dirt, snot dripping from his nose. Story 2. With a look of disgust on her deathbed, my mother said to me, "For over a decade, you've been living off your sister and brother without earning a single cent, just enjoying life at home. Don't you dare fight them for the house after I'm gone. You don't deserve it." After her death, Bill clearly allocated both properties, one to my sister, one to my brother, and split the 200,000 savings equally between them. I got nothing, my sister and brother said matter-of-factly. For 15 years, all you did was stay home taking care of mom without lifting a finger. We've supported you all this time. You should be grateful. They kicked me out. Then I was diagnosed with breast cancer. The doctor said it was caused by years of pent-up misery. When I asked my sister and brother for money to treat my illness, they coldly replied, "Money's for emergencies, not chronic poverty." Unable to bear the agony of cancer, I drowned myself in the river. When I opened my eyes again, I was back 15 years ago. The time when mom had her stroke and became paralyzed, needing full-time care. My sister said she was too busy with work and her young child, while my brother claimed he'd just graduated and needed to focus on his career. They both expected me to quit my job to take care of mom. This time, I said no. Icy river water rushed into my mouth and nose, my lungs burning as if set on fire. I stopped struggling, letting my body sink as consciousness faded. The agony of breast cancer would finally be over. For over a decade you've lived off your sister and brother without earning a penny, enjoying life at home. Don't you dare fight them for the house after you're gone. You don't deserve it. My dying mother's hateful words echoed in my ears again, colder than the river's chill. 15 years, I gave up the chance to study abroad, quit a job that was about to promote me, endured the heartbreak of a breakup, all to care for my stroke-paralyzed mother. 15 years without a full night's sleep, spinning like a top every day, only to have my whole family believe I've been living the good life. The day they kicked me out, my sister Serafina and brother Julian stood at the doorstep of our mother's 2 properties, sneering, "All you did these 15 years was stay home looking after mom. We've been supporting you all this time. You should be grateful." Huddled in my rented room, the agony of breast cancer tormented me day and night. The treatment drained my last savings, while my closest relatives coldly said, "Money's for emergencies, not chronic poverty." 1. The river water closed over my head as consciousness sank into darkness. "Alara, stop spacing out. Someone's got to take care of mom in her condition." A shrill female voice pierced my eardrums, my eyes flew open, and the blinding fluorescent light made me instinctively raise my hand to shield them. The stench of disinfectant, the icy hospital corridor chairs, and Serafina's flawless makeup paired with her impatient scowl. The familiarity of this scene sent chills down my spine. "Elder sister's right," she said. "Second sister, your job's the least demanding. Why don't you quit and take care of mom?" Julian, dressed in a crisp new suit, kept his eyes glued to his phone as he muttered without looking up, "I just started at the investment bank, can't take leave during probation." I looked down at my hands, smooth and firm, without the wrinkles and cracks from prolonged exposure to detergent. The phone screen lit up, displaying the date, April 12th, 2010. I've been reborn, back to the very day my mother was hospitalized after her stroke. Serafina grew more impatient at my silence. "My kid's only 3 and at that mischievous age. Plus my husband's always away on business." "Alara, since you're unmarried anyway, you're the most suitable to take care of mom. In my past life, I fell for this emotional blackmail and signed the resignation letter with tears in my eyes. Now I remember all too clearly how they discarded me like a used rag 15 years later. No, my own voice sounded eerily calm. "I've just been nominated for department head. Resigning is out of the question." They both looked up simultaneously, staring at me as if I were a complete stranger. "What did you just say?" Serafina's voice shot up an octave. "With mom in this condition, you're still thinking about promotions." The hospital room door opened as the nurse frowned and reminded, "Keep your voices down. Family members." I took a deep breath. "We could hire a caregiver or take shifts. I just checked labor laws. Employees have the right to request." "Alara," Serafina cut me off, her eyes full of disbelief. "After all mom's done for you, do you even know how expensive professional care is? And how could we trust a stranger?" A frail voice called weakly from the hospital bed, "Serafina, Julian." We entered the hospital room to find Mother Margaret reclining, the left side of her face slightly twisted from the stroke, yet her gaze remained piercingly sharp. She first smiled at Serafina and Julian, but her expression darkened when she turned to me. "Alara, you, unfilial, I heard everything. In my past life." This scene filled me with such guilt that I immediately agreed to resign, but now, Staring at the woman who would later strip me of everything, my heart remained still as water. Mother, I'll take care of you, I said calmly, but my sister and brother must share the responsibility. I've made a rotation schedule, fair for all three of us. The hospital room fell deathly silent. A flash of shock crossed Mother's clouded eyes before morphing into fury. Mom, calm down, Serafina soothed urgently, then glared at me. Look how upset you've made her. Julian finally put down his phone and frowned. What's gotten into you, second sister? I placed the prepared schedule on the nightstand. The doctor confirmed Mom needs at least 3 months of rehab. We'll each take 2 weekly shifts, with a hired caregiver covering the remaining day. Costs will be split equally. Mother suddenly broke into violent coughs, her trembling finger pointing at me. Get out. Just get out of here. Calmly picking up my bag, I said, I'll take my leave then. I'll be back on time for my shift tomorrow. Before turning away, I caught Serafina and Julian exchanging panicked glances. Stepping out of the hospital, the spring sunshine warmed my face. I took a deep breath, savoring the long-lost sense of freedom. This time, I won't make the same mistake again. Back in my rented studio, I deadbolt the door and slid down against the icy surface until I was sitting on the floor. My fingers trembled uncontrollably as I bit down hard on my lower lip, only releasing when I tasted blood. This wasn't a dream. I truly traveled 15 years back in time. The work planner spread on the coffee table showed a crucial client meeting at 9 a.m. tomorrow, the very meeting I'd missed in my previous life, costing me that promotion. I grabbed my notebook, its pages rustling in my hands, each sheet a testament to career possibilities I'd personally abandoned. In the bathroom, I turned on the faucet and splashed cold water on my face. The mirror showed no crow's feet from years of late-night patient care yet, my hair still thick and jet black before the eventual stress-induced brittleness. Ding, a WeChat notification chimed. In the hospital family group, Serafina sent a photo of our mother on 4. Doctors say Mom needs round-the-clock care. Julian, and I can't get away. Alara, take leave and come now. My fingers flew across the screen with a scoff. The roster shows it's your shift today. I've got a client meeting tomorrow morning, but we'll relieve you at 8 p.m. sharp. The moment I sent the message, Serafina's call came through. Alara, have you no conscience? Her voice was shrill. Mom can't even use the bathroom by herself now. How am I supposed to handle this? And I've got to pick up little Bao from kindergarten. I walked to the desk, opened a brand new notebook, and wrote evidence log on the title page. Then I hit record and put the phone on speaker. Sis, I remember you hired a nanny for little Bao, I said calmly. Besides, Mom always liked you best. Seeing you would speed up her recovery. The line went silent for a few seconds. When did you become so heartless? Serafina's voice suddenly cracked with emotion. Mom sacrificed so much to raise us, and now she needs us. In my past life, this guilt trip always worked on me, but now, all I could see was her standing at the doorstep of Mom's property, perfectly manicured finger jabbing at my face as she sneered. You've had 15 years of the good life. I love Mom deeply. I enunciated into the recorder. That's exactly why I proposed a fair care schedule. If today's impossible, we could hire professional caregivers and split the cost 3 ways. Caregivers, do you have any idea what they charge these days? Serafina's voice turned shrill again. $200 a day. You paying for that? I opened my notebook and recorded her response. Let's stick to the schedule then. I've got work to do. Talk later. After hanging up, I meticulously noted the time, conversation details, and key points in my notebook. Having suffered from lack of evidence in my past life, I'm now documenting every excuse and emotional blackmail this time around. My phone rang again. This time it was Julian. Second sis, I just started this job and really can't take leave. Mom always favored you most. Can't you cut me and big sis some slack? I replied. I've just been nominated for promotion too. Consideration goes both ways. The schedule's already in the group chat. If neither of you shows up today, I'll contact the hospital social worker for assistance. After sending this, I'll power off immediately. I pick out the navy blue suit for tomorrow from the wardrobe. In my past life, this outfit ended up reeking of disinfectant and stained with medicine from long storage in a hospital cabinet, but in this lifetime, it'll grace a pivotal moment in my career. Lying awake in the dead of night, sleep eludes me. Memories from my previous life come flooding back. When my mother woke me at 3 a.m. saying she was hungry, I braved the freezing wind to buy her midnight snacks. When incontinence soiled her sheets, I alone bathed her and changed her clothes. My prolonged absences made me miss the company's overseas training program. All my peers got promotions while I stayed behind, but Ethan's betrayal cut deepest. My boyfriend of 5 years said during our third postponed wedding date, Alara, I respect your choice, but I can't always come second. Within a year of our breakup, he married someone else. My pillowcase grew damp with tears. Turning over, I added another legal consultation page to my notebook, scribbling names of law firms to contact tomorrow. In my past life I was clueless about filial duties, but this time I'm coming fully prepared. The next morning, I arrived at the office an hour early. The moment HR opened, I submitted my annual leave and shift swap requests, perfectly covering my scheduled shifts. Alara, is that really you? A familiar voice called from behind. Turning around, I saw my college classmate Olivia by the elevator, coffee in hand and eyes wide with surprise. Olivia, you work here? I approached in astonishment, after quitting my job in the previous life. I'd cut ties with all former colleagues, never expected to see her here. I'm in the marketing department on the 16th floor. She grabbed my hand enthusiastically. Heard you're nominated for supervisor. That's amazing. Then lowering her voice, by the way, Director Leonard is scouting for someone to lead the new project. Want to give it a shot? Director Leonard. My heart suddenly raced. In my past life, this project ended up with my rival Victor. It became his golden ticket, eventually propelling him to VP. Absolutely. Any insider tips? I asked, forcing composure. Olivia winked mysteriously. Lunch together. I heard you've got family matters, but this opportunity is rare, she said meaningfully. Sometimes, fate can be rewritten. Her words hit me like an electric shock. Does she also? Before I could process it, my phone vibrated. In the hospital family group chat, Serafina posted a photo of her and Julian flanking the hospital bed. We took half-day leave to visit Mom. She keeps asking why you're not here. In the photo, our mother lay weakly but clutched Julian's hand tightly. Serafina was bending over to wipe her face, a heartwarming scene that would make anyone who didn't know the context think I was an ungrateful daughter. I took a deep breath and replied, according to the schedule, I'll be there at 8 p.m. sharp. Please tell Mom to get some rest. Then I snapped a photo of my newly approved annual leave form and sent it to the group chat. My vacation is all set. Hope Sis and Bro can coordinate their schedules soon too. After sending the message, I looked up at Olivia with a smile. Noon at the restaurant. See you there. My phone buzzed again as I walked toward the office, thinking it was a reply from the family group chat. I opened it only to find a text from an unknown number. MS, Alara, this is Indra from Mingley Law Firm. Your scheduled legal consultation is at 3 p.m. today. The address has been sent to your email. I froze. I hadn't contacted any law firms. At exactly noon, I pushed open the glass door of the company cafeteria to find Olivia already waving at me from a window seat. 2 coffee cups and a file folder sat on the table before her. Alara, over here. Her crisp voice turned heads at nearby tables. As I hurried over, the glittering diamond on her left ring finger caught my. In the previous timeline, she wasn't supposed to get married until next year. The chronology must have shifted. Congratulations, I nodded at her ring. When did this happen? A blush spread across Olivia's cheeks. We got engaged last month. She quickly steered the conversation back. But first, about your situation. Director Leonard's new project launches next week, and they need someone well-versed in IFRS to lead it. My heart skipped a beat. In my past life, this cross-border MA deal catapulted Victor's career. While I missed the promotion opportunity because my mother was hospitalized for the 3rd time, too, I meet all the requirements, I said, setting down my coffee cup, my fingers unconsciously tracing circles along the rim. But with my current family situation, that's exactly why you should go for it, Olivia whispered urgently, sliding the folder across. This is the project prototype. Study it quickly. The interview's next Wednesday. She paused. I heard about your mom. I'm so sorry, but Alara, opportunities like this won't wait. Opening the folder, the familiar project name jumped out at me. Asia Pacific Cross-Border Tax Optimization Strategy, the very project that made Victor's reputation in my past life. I could practically recite every key milestone from memory. Thanks, I'll prepare thoroughly. I closed the folder, suddenly remembering the mysterious morning text. By the way, do you know a lawyer named Indra? Olivia frowned in thought. The one from Mingley Law Firm. I think her husband works in our corporate legal department. Why do you ask? Just curious. I changed the subject, though my mind was racing. I'd never met this Indra in my past life. Why would she reach out to me? At 3 p.m., I arrived punctually at Mingley Law Firm. The receptionist gave me a strange look while verifying my name. Miss Alara, Attorney Indra has been expecting you for quite some time. Indra's office was at the end of the hallway. When I pushed open the door, a sharp-featured woman in her early 30s with short hair was typing at her computer. As she looked up, I noticed a faint scar above her left eyebrow. Miss Alara, please have a seat, she said in a firm, low voice. I imagine you're wondering why I reached out to you. I nodded cautiously. This is unexpected. Indra retrieved an envelope from her drawer. An anonymous client delivered this last week, instructing me to give it to you when you inquired about your mother's care. She slid the envelope across the desk. After verifying its contents complied with professional ethics, I accepted the assignment. The envelope contained a stack of photos, images of Mother Margaret conversing with a middle-aged man at a tea house, dated last month. The final shot was a close-up of them exchanging documents, slightly blurred but clearly showing the word will. My fingers trembled slightly. In my past life, it was only after mother's passing that I discovered she'd drafted her will long before our sibling quarrels, leaving everything to my sister and brother. These photos, legally obtained, Indra Kuttin, Miss Alara, under the Inheritance Law and Elderly Rights Protection Act, caregiving obligations and inheritance rights are separate. Even as primary caregiver, you're not entitled to a larger share. She handed me a document. But the law also states that children's duty to support their parents is equal. You can demand other caregivers share the costs and responsibilities. I took a deep breath. What if my sister and brother refused to fulfill their obligations? A sharp glint flashed in Indra's eyes. You can sue them in court to enforce compliance. I've specialized in these family disputes for years with a 98% success rate. As our conversation ended and Indra walked me out, she suddenly asked, Miss Alara, did your mother go by the nickname Ahe? I nodded in surprise. How did you know? Indra smiled. Just a hunch. Same time next week if you still need help. You know where to find me. Back at the office, I immediately dove into the cross-border tax project. Though I'd followed its public documentation in my past life, the internal workings still blew me away. Before clocking out, I sent the polished proposal to Leonard. CCING Olivia, at exactly 8 p.m. I walked into my mother's hospital room carrying fruit. Serafina was peeling an apple by the bedside and sprang up when she saw me. Finally, I've been here all day. According to the schedule, my shift runs from 8 p.m. tonight to 8 a.m. tomorrow. I set down my bag and pulled out the logbook. You can head home now. Sis, Julian's taking over tomorrow. Mother coughed weakly. Alara, must you be so particular? Your sister's swamped with work. I'm busy too, Mom. I calmly interrupted. Reaching for the thermometer, time for your temperature check. Serafina snatched up her bag with a huff, announcing loudly on purpose before leaving, I'll visit again tomorrow. Mom, unlike some heartless people, I won't follow their example. As the ward door clicked shut, Mother closed her eyes and ignored me. I shrugged indifferently and began reviewing her medication chart. These details were etched in my memory from my past life. Mother's penicillin allergy. Her blood pressure medication at 9 p.m., how she'd often wake up parched at midnight. The nurse doing rounds gasped when she saw the perfectly maintained medical records. Miss Alara, did you train as a nurse? Just picked up a thing or two. I replied with a smile. No one knew these skills cost me 15 years of my youth. At 2 a.m., Mother developed a slight fever. In my previous life, I'd have panicked and called the night doctor. Now I recognized this as normal post-op response. With practice movements like a seasoned caregiver, I bathed her with warm water and refreshed the ice packs. Alara, Mother suddenly grabbed my hand, her gaze distant. How did you learn these things? Learned it in a dream, I replied flatly, continuing to wipe her arm. At 6 in the morning while Mother slept, I handled some work emails on my phone. Leonard had replied to my proposal at 4 a.m., insightful perspective. Come to my office Wednesday at 10 a.m. to discuss in detail. By the time sunlight filtered through the curtains, I'd mentally rehearsed my project pitch 3 times. After Mother woke, I efficiently helped her wash up and eat breakfast, practical motions devoid of unnecessary emotion. At exactly 8 o'clock, Julian appeared at the doorway yawning. Hey sis, I'm here. His suit was crumpled, and he reeked of alcohol. I frowned. Were you drinking last night? How are you going to take care of Mom like this? Just had a couple drinks, he waved impatiently. Just go already, stop nagging. But Mom looked at him with concern. Julian dear, don't overdo it with those work dinners. I jotted down the care instructions on a sticky note and placed it by the bedside. Before leaving, I snapped a photo of Julian's drunken grin and my mother's doting expression, saving it in my phone's encrypted album. Wednesday's project presentation went surprisingly well. Leonard, a lanky man in his early 40s with hawk-like eyes, gave 3 deliberate taps on the table when I proposed an innovative application of Singapore's tax provisions, his trademark gesture of approval. Miss Alara, he said as the meeting concluded, you seem to possess an extraordinary grasp of this project. My pulse quickened. I've conducted similar research before. The project team officially launches next Monday, and I expect to see your name on the roster. He stood up abruptly and asked, I heard there's a sick family member at your place. I maintained my smile. We've arranged rotating care schedules. It won't affect my work. As I stepped out of the meeting room, my phone buzzed. In the hospital family group chat, Serafina sent a barrage of voice messages. Alara, what kind of witchcraft did you use on Julian? He's talking about hiring a nurse. Mom's blood pressure spiked from anger. I replied, caring for the patient is a family responsibility. If Julian's having difficulties, we can reorganize the shifts, but I won't keep being the only one making sacrifices. Serafina called immediately. Do you realize Julian just started this job? Taking leave could ruin his career prospects. What about my prospects? I countered calmly, hitting record. Sis, you always say Mom favors me, but does she really? She missed my high school graduation because Julian had a fever. When I won a college scholarship, she said too much education is wasted on a girl. The line went silent for seconds. Alara, you've changed. Serafina's voice suddenly softened. Is work too stressful? Maybe. I could take care of mom for you these few days. My guard went up. She'd pulled this before in my past life. First the fake concern, then demanding double payback for having done me a favor. No need. Just follow the schedule. I hung up and recorded the conversation in my evidence log. On Friday night after my shift, I found Ethan's WeChat friend request. The verification message simply read, "Heard your aunt's hospitalized. Need any help?" Staring at the screen, painful memories of our past breakup resurfaced. Back then he'd said, "I can't always come second," and now I'm learning to put myself first. Thanks. It's all taken care of. I finally replied before powering off my phone. The sunlight was blindingly harsh on the day Mom was discharged from the hospital. The doctor kept reiterating post-recovery care instructions, which I diligently noted down, though I'd heard these same reminders countless times in my past life. The patient requires regular rehabilitation exercises and ideally a dedicated caregiver for daily needs. The doctor adjusted his glasses, glancing between us three siblings. She shouldn't live alone for at least 3 months. Serafina immediately chimed in, "We'll hire a home aide." She turned to Julian and me. "We'll split the cost 3 ways." Agreed. I closed my notebook. Hiring help is fine, but we need clear shift schedules for supervision. Mom's prone to falls now. No aide can watch her 247. Julian kept his eyes glued to his phone and mumbled, "You guys decide. Sis, I just started working and really can't afford anything right now." Julian's right. Mom suddenly cut in, looking at her son with pity. He's new at his job with a meager salary. Serafina has young kids to support. And Alara, you earn the most. You should cover the larger share of the nanny's fees. I clenched the pen in my hand. Just like in my past life, all the extra expenses somehow always ended up being my responsibility. Taking a deep breath, I pulled out a printed copy of the Elderly Rights Protection Act from my bag. The law states that filial support obligations are equal, I said, flipping to the highlighted clause. If Julian genuinely can't afford it, he can apply for a reduction, but he'll need to provide pay stubs and bank statements. The ward fell silent instantly. Julian flushed crimson. "Second sister, what are you implying?" "What I mean," I said calmly, meeting his gaze, "is that we're all adults here. Responsibilities should be clear. I can take on more, but it shouldn't be taken for granted." Mother suddenly slapped the bedside. "Alara, is money all you care about? Was raising you all these years for nothing." Without a word, I pulled out my phone and played a recording. Julian's voice came through clearly. "Second sister's such a fool. Mom's measly pension can't cover anything, yet she still chips in. Eldest sister's shrewder. She always uses the kids being sick as an excuse to stay away." The recording cut off abruptly. Serafina turned pale with rage. "You actually recorded this?" "Just protecting myself," I said, putting away my phone. "Since nobody wants to take care of Mom, I suggest sending her to Kangxi Nursing Home. They have professional rehabilitation care there. We'll split the cost 3 ways." "No," Mother and Serafina shrieked in unison. In my past life, I knew Mom feared nursing homes, but only after her death did I learn it was because she'd worked in one during her youth and knew how chaotic they could be. If Mom doesn't want to go, then forget it. Serafina conceded, "We'll take turns caring for her." "But Julian can take fewer shifts." "I disagree." I cut her off. "Either it's completely fair, or we send her to a nursing home. You choose." Mother suddenly broke into violent coughing fits. Julian rushed to pat her back, then shot me a glare. "Look what you've done. You made Mom this upset." The doctor arrived at the commotion, and we were ushered out of the ward. In the hallway, Serafina grabbed my wrist. "Are you out of your mind? Mom just got discharged and you're already upsetting her." I shook off her grip. "Sis, remember when I was hospitalized with pneumonia junior year, Mom said she had to focus on Julian's college entrance exams. She never visited me once." Serafina froze, clearly not recalling the incident. I pressed on, "So my reasonable request is upsetting Mom, but your shirking responsibility is perfectly understandable." Julian cut in, "Second sis. When did you become so heartless?" "Julian," I sneered. "Last Friday night at Nightfall Bar, that $300 whiskey bottle you popped." The photo's still up. His face drained of color. He never expected I'd seen that friends only post. We finally reached a temporary arrangement, hiring a daytime nanny while splitting night shifts among the 3 of us, with costs shared equally. As I stepped out of the hospital, my phone buzzed. A text from Leonard. "Project approved. You'll lead the Singapore module, 1-week business trip next week. Any issues?" I replied instantly, "No problem, thanks for the opportunity." Just as I was about to hail a cab home, a black Audi pulled up slowly in front of me. The window rolled down, revealing a face both familiar and foreign. "Ethan." "Alara." He gave a slight nod. "Just visited your aunt." 5 years had passed, and his features had grown more defined, with an air of quiet maturity around his eyes. I froze. In our past life, We'd never met again after the breakup until I saw his wedding announcement in the news. Yeah, my mom's being discharged today, I answered mechanically, then suddenly noticed the attorney pin on his suit. You became a lawyer, Juin law firm, specializing in civil and commercial disputes. He handed me a business card. I heard about your mother's condition, if you need any legal advice. My fingers trembled slightly as I took the card. How desperately I'd needed someone like him in my past life, and now here he stood before me. Thanks, but I already have legal representation. I forced a smile. Indra from Mingley Law Firm. Ethan raised an eyebrow slightly. Attorney Indra is quite professional. He paused. Alara, are you okay? That simple question made my nose sting. In my past life when I gave up everything to care for Mother, no one ever asked how I was. Everyone just assumed it was my duty, never caring what I'd lost. I'm fine. I took a deep breath. Working on a new project. Might need to travel soon. He nodded. Keep in touch. Just before the window rolled up, he suddenly added, by the way, Attorney Indra just won an alimony dispute case last week. Got the other party ordered to pay 15 years of back support plus interest. Watching the car drive away, I clenched the business card in my hand. Ethan wouldn't bring up that case for no reason. What was he hinting at? Back home, I immediately emailed Indra to inquire about the legal process for alimony recovery. Then I fired up my laptop to prep project materials for the upcoming business trip. At 10 p.m., Serafina called abruptly. Alara, Mom's having chest tightness. I'm taking her back to the hospital. Can you, tomorrow, according to the schedule? It's Julian's turn tomorrow. I cut her off calmly. I have a business trip next week and need to prepare materials tonight. Mother's groans and Serafina's frantic voice came through the phone. Listen to this. How can you think about work when Mom's in such pain? 3. I held the phone away from my ear until her shouting subsided. Sis, if Mom's really unwell, you should call 120 instead of me. I'm hanging up now, after powering off. I kept sorting documents. Though my hands trembled uncontrollably, in my past life, such calls would have made me drop everything and rush to the hospital, but now I knew, 9 times out of 10, Mother was faking it. This was her old trick to pressure me into submission. At 1 a.m., my phone automatically turned on with a text from Julian. Mom's fine. The doctor said it's just mild angina and she only needs overnight observation. Big sis asked me to stay, but I've got client meetings tomorrow, I replied. The schedule already accounts for everyone's work commitments. If it's truly impossible, we can activate Plan B, sending Mom to the retirement home. After sending that, I immediately powered off my phone and soaked in a hot bath. Staring at the ceiling, I replayed Ethan's expression from earlier. Why was he at the hospital entrance? Coincidence or, during the last 3 days before my business trip, I strictly followed the care schedule for Mother. She gave me the cold shoulder yet praised Serafina's devotion and Julian's success to visiting neighbors. I calmly peeled apples, listening to those familiar lines. My Serafina makes me soup every day. Julian's so busy with work, yet he always finds time to visit, the elderly woman said, casting an envious glance my way. Alara's been good to you too, always looking after you. Mother pursed her lips. All she cares about these days is work. Even hired a nanny and had the nerve to split the bill with me. I set down the fruit knife and video called from my phone. Indra's stern face appeared instantly. MS, Alara, I've prepared the legal brief regarding the alimony claim. Shall we discuss it now? Mother's expression froze. I smiled. My apologies. Attorney Indra, wrong number. I meant to call Director Leonard. The ward fell silent after I hung up. The old lady excused herself awkwardly, while Mom shot me a furious glare. You did that on purpose, Mom. I handed her the peeled apple. Do you know why I insist on fairness? Because I've already tasted the consequences of unfairness once. She turned away, refusing the apple. I didn't mind, simply eating it myself. In my past life, I always gave Mom the best while gnawing on cores. Now I'm learning to put myself first. The night before my business trip, while packing, I received an email from Leonard. Singapore team changed the data parameters last minute. Attached are the updated materials for tomorrow's meeting. I immediately turned on my computer to work. At 2 a.m., my phone suddenly rang. It was Julian, second sis. Mom's saying she's unwell again, and big sis says she's tied up with the kids. Staring at the spreadsheet on my screen, I replied, Julian, I have a flight at 4 a.m., and I'm preparing critical materials right now, but Mom keeps calling your name. His voice suddenly dropped. And I faintly heard Mom's muttering in the background. She says, if you don't come, she won't take her meds. I closed my eyes as memories of countless similar emotional blackmails from past lives flooded in. When I reopened them, my voice was eerily calm. Tell Mom if she's genuinely ill, I'll call an ambulance for her. If this is another act, I've recorded it. We'll settle this in court. Dead silence hung on the other end of the line. After what felt like an eternity, Julian stammered. A second, sis, you've changed. Yes, I replied softly. I've finally grown up. Morning light from Singapore streamed through the hotel curtains as I opened my eyes, momentarily disoriented about my whereabouts. The project files and laptop by the bedside reminded me this wasn't that tiny apartment reeking of antiseptic from my past life. My phone vibrated with Leonard's text. Me in the lobby at 9, the clients arrived early. I freshened up quickly and changed into my navy suit. The reflection showed clear-eyed composure, none of that chronic sleep-deprived exhaustion from my past life. The past week working in Singapore rekindled my long-lost professional drive. In the hotel lobby, Leonard was conversing with 2 Singaporean clients. Noticing my approach, he gave a slight nod. Ms. Alara, this is Mr. Chin, CFO of Starhaven Group. I greeted them fluently in English and presented the meticulously prepared project proposal as Mr. Chin was reviewing it. Leonard whispered to me, "Did you check the data I sent you last night?" Not only did I check it, but I also uncovered vulnerabilities in their legacy system, I replied, pulling up comparative data on my tablet. Following the original asset transfer plan could lead to unexpected tax liabilities. Mr. Chin suddenly looked up at me in surprise. "How did you know we're using a legacy system, Ms. Alara?" "Industry expertise," I answered with a smile. Careful not to mention I'd studied this case in a past life. The meeting went surprisingly well. As it concluded, Leonard gave a rare smile. "Alara, you've exceeded all my expectations," he said, glancing at his watch. "Take the afternoon off. We've got one final session tomorrow." Back in my room, I finally powered on my phone after a week. Dozens of WeChat notifications flooded in instantly, mostly from the hospital family group chat. Serafina had sent a string of voice messages, the last few trembling with tears. "Alara, why are you ignoring us? Mom's condition is getting worse." Methodically reviewing the full message history, I then dialed the attending physician. I'd saved his number in my past life. Never thought it'd prove useful in this one. "Dear Lou, this is Margaret's daughter. I'd like an update on my mother's condition." "Oh, Miss Alara." Dr. Lou's voice remained calm. "Your mother just has a mild cold and is already improving, though your sister keeps asking if we can issue a critical illness certificate." I tightened my grip on the phone. "Why would she need that?" "Says she needs it for work leave." Dr. Lou paused. "Miss Alara, your mother's recovering well. We could actually consider discharging her soon." After hanging up, I video called my mother's hospital room. It rang for ages before being answered. The screen showed Mom lying pale in bed, weakly moaning. "Alara, I feel awful, Mom. I just spoke with Dr. Lou on the phone," I said, looking straight at the screen. "He said you're ready to be discharged." Mother's expression froze before she broke into a cough. That quack. "My last meeting is tomorrow, then I'm flying home," I said calmly. "If you're genuinely unwell, I can have Attorney Indra contact the nursing home evaluator to visit today. No need." Mother's voice suddenly rose, then softened as she caught herself. I just miss you. I've missed you too," I smiled. "That's why I brought you this pain relief ointment from Singapore. They say it works wonders for angina." Mother's face twisted like she'd swallowed a fly. In my past life, she'd constantly complained of angina yet refused medical checkups. It was her perfect excuse to play sick. Hanging up the video call, I exhaled deeply. Outside, the Singapore River shimmered. Utterly different from the one I'd jumped into in my previous life, my phone buzzed. A text from Ethan. "Heard you're in Singapore. Got an alimony dispute case to discuss. Free to meet when you're back." I stared blankly at the screen. Last time, Ethan had swiftly married a fellow lawyer from his social circle after our breakup, while I became a spinster caring for Mother. Now his sudden outreach. Coincidence or, sure. "I'll reach out next week," after the brief reply. I turned off my phone and focused on preparing materials for tomorrow's meeting. On the flight back home, Leonard sat beside me and unexpectedly brought up personal matters. "How's the patient and your family doing?" "Much better. Thanks for asking," I replied cautiously. He nodded. "Sometimes what family truly needs isn't our total sacrifice. It's knowing we're living well ourselves." I stared at him in astonishment. His words felt like a perfect summary of my past life. Leonard smiled faintly and handed me a business card. "There's an industry summit in Beijing next month. I'd like to recommend you." The card read Asia Pacific Financial Tax Forum Organizing Committee. In my past life, Victor had attended this summit as the company's representative and was promoted to director immediately upon returning. "Thank you, Director Leonard. I'll prepare thoroughly. Just Leonard is fine." He closed his laptop. "Alara, you have this remarkable presence, like someone who's already lived through so much that you know exactly what you want." My heart skipped a beat. Had he noticed something? Just as I was about to respond, the plane hit severe turbulence, forcing me to grip the armrest. "Don't worry," Leonard's voice cut through the chaos with unusual clarity. "Turbulence is temporary. Smooth skies are the norm." His words inexplicably strengthened me. Yes. Wasn't this second life of mine meant to soar toward calmer, wider horizons? Back at the office, Olivia pulled me aside conspiratorially. Her director Leonard recommended you for the Beijing summit. Victor was so mad he smashed a cup in his office. I smiled without responding. In our past life, Victor always had the upper hand over me. Now with our roles reversed, the feeling wasn't half bad. After work, I went straight to the hospital. When I pushed open the ward door, I saw two strangers talking with my mother while Serafina stood nearby, holding a fruit knife and a half-peeled apple. You must be Alara. The older woman stood up and warmly grasped my hand. We're from the Community Elder Care Center, here to check on Aunt Margaret's recovery progress. Serafina immediately put on her sweetest smile. Alara's always busy with work. I'm usually the one taking care of Mom. Watching the clumsily peeled apple in her hand, my past life mother always scolded me for wasting fruit flesh, demanding paper thin, even peels. I smirked inwardly but kept a straight face. We appreciate the community's concern, my siblings and I take turns caring for our mother with full dedication. Alara just returned from a business trip in Singapore. Mother suddenly interjected, her voice frail but eyes piercing. Her work keeps her so busy. The social workers exchanged glances. The elder one patted my hand. It's admirable that young people focus on their careers, but don't forget to spend quality time with the elderly. Smiling, I pulled out my phone to display the care schedule and logs. You're absolutely right. That's why I've created this detailed rotation plan. Here are Mom's medication records and rehab charts from my shifts. My siblings' versions should be equally thorough. No. Serafina's expression darkened. Clearly she had no records. The younger staff member leaned in curiously to peer at my phone. Wow, so professional. Aunt Margaret is truly blessed to have such devoted children. The moment the community workers left, Serafina's demeanor shifted. What's your game, Alara? Trying to humiliate me on purpose. Just stating facts. I pocketed my phone. Sis, when's Mom getting discharged? Doctor said 2 more days for observation. Serafina glared. You were away all week. Julian and I handled everything. You're covering the medical bills first. I pulled out the payment receipt. All settled. By the way, I'll be attending a summit in Beijing next week. Already arranged for a caregiver to cover my shifts. What? Mom suddenly sat up in bed. You're leaving again. Mom, mind your back. I helped her lean against the headboard. This summit is crucial for my career. Mom suddenly clutched her chest. Ouch, my heart hurts. Serafina immediately hit the call button. Look how you've upset Mom. I calmly watched my mother's performance. Only after the nurse arrived and completed the examination did I say deliberately, Mom, the elder care assessor recommended by Attorney Indra will come tomorrow for a professional evaluation. If your health condition truly isn't suitable for discharge, we can consider long-term care options. How dare you? Mother forgot her pretense of illness, her voice booming with vigor. I'm not going to a nursing home. Then cooperate with the treatment to get discharged sooner, I said with a smile. Mom, didn't you always say you wanted us to make something of ourselves? I'm trying my best here. Serafina pulled me into the hallway. What's your problem? Mom needs family care, not some hired help or nursing home. I've got a career too. Sis, I met her gaze. Why does Julian get to travel for work while I can't? He's the man of the house, the breadwinner. You can't possibly believe that crap. I cut her off. Where'd Julian get the money for that new car last month? Mom's secret allowance, wasn't it? Serafina fell silent, then lowered her voice. Alara, Mom's will leaves the house and savings to Julian and me. If you behave, I might put in a good word for you. My heart lurched, though I'd expected this outcome, hearing it aloud cut like a knife. In my past life, I only learned about the will when they kicked me out, but now. Thanks for the heads up, sis. I forced composure, but I can make it on my own just fine. The moment I got home, I called Indra, Attorney Indra. I need more detailed advice about pursuing alimony payments. Perfect timing. My colleague was scheduled to assess an elderly patient at the hospital tomorrow. It's my mother, I said with a wry smile. Could you personally handle this? I've made some new observations. The next day, Indra arrived with the assessor. In her early 30s with a no-nonsense pixie cut, the scar above her left eyebrow became more pronounced in the sunlight. During the evaluation, my mother cooperated unusually well. No trace of yesterday's angina episode remained. After the assessment, Indra pulled me aside. Ms. Alara, preliminary findings indicate your mother's condition is stable enough for home care, but she handed me a document. I came across this while reviewing her medical records. It was a psychiatric evaluation report dated 3 months ago, concluding with mild cognitive impairment requiring regular follow-ups. Didn't the hospital inform you? Indra frowned. I shook my head. In my past life, my mother never underwent such tests before her death. What did this imply? Could it affect her testamentary capacity? Indra seemed to read my confusion. Cognitive impairment doesn't automatically invalidate a will, she said meaningfully, but combined with other evidence. This warrants deeper investigation. Just then, Julian burst into the hospital corridor. Second sister, what's the meaning of bringing people to evaluate mom? I calmly put away the documents. A professional evaluation will help mom's recovery. Julian, did you know mom had a psychiatric evaluation? His face changed. What psychiatric evaluation? The one 3 months ago. I stared straight into his eyes. Did you take mom behind my back? Nonsense. His voice shot up an octave. Mom's perfectly fine. Why would she need a psychiatric evaluation? Indra interjected smoothly. Mr. Julian, I'm Indra from Mingley Law Firm. Regarding your mother's will. What will? That's absurd. Julian wiped his sweaty forehead and turned to leave. I need to check on mom. Indra and I exchanged glances. The mystery only deepened on the final day of the Beijing summit. As I was organizing my presentation materials, my phone suddenly started vibrating violently. Julian's name flashed on the screen. After over a dozen missed calls, it finally switched to a text message. Mom had a fall. She's in the ER at People's Hospital now. My fingers trembled, nearly knocking over my coffee. In my previous life, mother did have a fall, but that happened 2 years later. Has the timeline shifted again? Leonard noticed my distress. What's wrong? My mother's been hospitalized after a fall. I forced myself to stay composed. I'm sorry, but I need to change my flight and return immediately. He nodded. Just say the word if you need help. After changing my flight, I called Julian back. Serafina answered instead, with chaotic background noise and faint moans from mom. Finally decided to pick up. Serafina's voice was shrill. Mom's got a fractured femur and needs surgery. The doctor says she'll be bedridden for at least 3 months. I've changed my flight. I'll be there by 8 tonight, I said, keeping my voice steady. Has the surgery been scheduled? Arrangements? Who's signing? Who's paying the deposit? Serafina sneered. Julian and I have been taking turns taking leave to care for mom for a week. While you're out there living it up, I gripped my phone tighter. The schedule shows it's the caregiver's shift this week. How could mom have fallen? There was a sudden silence on the other end for a few seconds. The caregiver went grocery shopping. Serafina's tone noticeably faltered. Just get back here, now. After hanging up, I immediately called the caregiving agency to verify. The manager stated firmly, our caregiver's report indicates your sister asked them to leave that day, citing family matters to discuss. The moment my plane landed, I rushed straight to People's Hospital. Pushing open the ward door, I saw mother lying in bed with her left leg in a cast, her face ashen. Serafina and Julian sat on either side, both standing up when they noticed me. Alara. You're finally back, mother said weakly, reaching out her hand. When I instinctively moved to hold it, she pulled away. The money, you'll need to cover the surgery costs first. Julian immediately chimed in. Second sis, I'm a bit strapped for cash lately. I've already paid the deposit, I said, setting down my bag and pulling out the home care agency's written statement. Sis, why did you dismiss the caregiver? Serafina's face darkened. You've been investigating me. I just want the truth, I said, meeting her gaze. How did mom fall? Our mother suddenly coughed from the hospital bed. It was my own carelessness. Julian cut in. What's the point of dwelling on this now? Second sis, the priority is mom needs care. His eyes darted to my briefcase. That summit of yours is over. Can't you take leave now? Absolutely not, I said firmly. I just got nominated for Employee of the Year and I'm leading a new project starting next week. Work. That's all you care about. Serafina raised her voice abruptly, drawing glances from neighboring patients. Mom's in this state, and you're still thinking about promotions and pay raises. I took a deep breath. We could hire professional caregivers. How can we trust strangers? Julian cut me off. Mom needs her family. This conversation felt all too familiar. In my past life, I'd gradually abandoned my career under this kind of emotional blackmail. Eventually becoming the family's unpaid caretaker, I looked at my mother. Her expectant gaze was identical to that previous lifetime. I'll go consult the doctor, I said, turning to leave the ward. I needed time to strategize. Outside the doctor's office, I nearly collided with a tall figure. Sorry, my apology died as I looked up and froze. Ethan, 5 years had sharpened his features, and the suited man before me bore little resemblance to the law school senior I remembered. He held medical records, clearly here on hospital business too. Alara, he recognized me first, his eyes lingering on the summit guest pass hanging from my neck. Back from Beijing, I nodded mechanically, my throat suddenly dry. What brings you to the hospital? Client's relative had a fall, here for disability assessment. He waved the medical file, hesitating before adding, heard about your mom, need any help? Who told you? My guard went up instantly. Indra, she's my junior colleague. Ethan lowered his voice. Alara, there are discrepancies in your mother's psychiatric evaluation. The original records indicate her cognitive impairment is far more severe than reported. My heart skipped a beat. This is Attorney-client privilege prevents me from saying more. He handed me a business card, but if you need legal assistance, don't hesitate to reach out. The card read partner at Juni Law Firm. In my past life, Ethan did become a top-tier lawyer, but I never expected him to make partner this quickly. As I took the card, our fingers brushed accidentally, sending an electric tingle down my spine. Thanks. I might actually need help. I forced a bitter smile and gestured toward the hospital room. My siblings are pressuring me to quit my job to take care of Mom. Ethan frowned deeply. Don't agree to it. Under the Labor Law and Women's Rights Protection Act, this amounts to disguised gender discrimination. He paused. I've got a meeting now. I'll contact you later. Remember, don't sign anything. Watching his retreating figure, I exhaled in relief. The helpless isolation from my past life seemed to be taking a hopeful turn this time. The doctor informed me that Mom did fracture her femur, but the surgery went well. She could be discharged in 2 weeks. The crucial part is post-operative care. The patient needs professional rehabilitation therapy, preferably with family support. What are the alternatives if family members are too busy with work? I asked bluntly. The doctor adjusted his glasses. You could hire professional caregivers or consider a rehabilitation center. Kamshin Garden, which partners with our hospital, is quite reputable. That's exactly what I wanted to hear. Back in the ward, I got straight to the point. Mom, the doctor says you can be discharged in 2 weeks, but will need professional rehab. I've contacted Kamshin Garden. I'm not going to a nursing home. Mother tried to sit up in agitation. Wincing in pain, Serafina quickly steadied her. Alara. Are you trying to give Mom a heart attack? Kamshin Garden is a professional rehabilitation center, not some ordinary nursing home, I said, pulling out the brochure. With 247 medical care, recovery is faster than at home. Julian suddenly interjected. How much does it cost? $8,000 a month, split 3 ways. I replied, well prepared, cheaper than hiring live-in care, and far more professional. $8,000. Serafina shrieked. That's practically daylight robbery, sis. Didn't you say $200 a day for home care was too expensive? I countered calmly. This rehab center's rate is completely reasonable. Mother suddenly burst into tears. Alara, do you really despise me that much? In my past life, Mother's tears always broke me, but now, watching her cry, I remembered Indra's warning about the falsified psych evaluation. Mom, I love you dearly. That's exactly why I want you to have proper professional care. The best care comes from family. Serafina declared firmly, Alara, you must take leave to look after Mom. I won't quit my job, nor will I be the sole caregiver. I pulled out my phone, but if you insist, we can request a community assessment to evaluate if home care is feasible. This was the strategy Indra taught me. Community assessments typically favor home care, but will recommend professional facilities if conditions aren't adequate. Our family situation clearly falls into the latter category. Serafina and Julian exchanged glances. Have it your way, Serafina finally conceded, but let's try having Mom stay at home first after discharge. If that doesn't work out, we'll consider that. Whatever Garden Place. Night had fallen when I left the hospital. As I waited at the bus stop, a black Audi pulled up beside me. The window rolled down, revealing Ethan's profile sharply outlined by the streetlight. Need a ride home. The faint sandalwood scent in the car disoriented me. In my past life, this had been my favorite fragrance on Ethan, one I hadn't encountered since our breakup. Thanks, I fastened my seatbelt. Never imagined we'd reunite like this. I've been keeping up with your work. He adjusted the steering wheel lightly, quoted your cross-border taxation article from Financial Taxation in a client proposal last year. I looked at him in surprise. You remember my article? Remember many things, he said softly, then returned to the subject. Do you need my involvement with your aunt's matter? I shook my head. Not for now. I've contacted the rehab center. A wise choice. He nodded. Alara, you've changed. My heart raced at his words. What's changed? More determined, more certain about what I want. The light turned red as he turned to me. That's progress. The car stopped outside my apartment. Ethan handed me a document folder from Indra. A case compilation on testamentary capacity in mental health patients. Taking the folder with trembling fingers, I whispered, thank you. Why are you helping me? Because you're right, he replied simply. Good night, Alara. Back home, I immediately went through the documents. On top was a note, original psychiatric evaluation records retrieved, significant discrepancies found with submitted version, recommend requesting reassessment, Indra. Attached were several similar case rulings where forged mental evaluations invalidated wills. My unease grew. If Mother's cognitive state was already compromised when drafting the will, the document leaving everything to my siblings could be void. My phone rang abruptly. Leonard, Alara, how's the Beijing summit report coming along? Can you submit it tomorrow? It's already done. I'll send it to you first thing tomorrow. Only then did I remember the unfinished work. Good. Also, Victor came to see me today saying your family matters are affecting work. Leonard paused. I overruled his concerns, but you need to maintain better balance. Hanging up, I clenched my phone. How did Victor know about my family situation? Unless Serafina contacted him. Last time around, she'd secretly told my boss I had too many family obligations for promotion. I immediately texted Olivia. Has anyone been asking about my work situation recently? The reply came swiftly. Victor had a long talk with your sister yesterday. How did you know? Just as I thought. I smirked. Their old tricks from the past were resurfacing, but this time, I won't let them succeed. Early the next morning, I dropped off breakfast at the hospital before heading straight to the office. Leonard was pleased with my report. You'll present the cross-border project at next week's board meeting. It was both a tremendous opportunity and a daunting challenge, stepping out of the office. I ran into Victor, a balding man in his early 40s who shot me a hostile glare. Alara, all settled at home. He asked with feigned concern, need any help? Thanks for asking. Everything's taken care of. I replied with a smile. By the way, my sister said your advice was really helpful. She's very grateful. Victor's expression changed. I don't know what you're talking about, really. I pretended to be surprised. Must have misheard then. After all, I lowered my voice. Contacting employees' family members privately is against company policy, isn't it? Watching his panicked retreat, I finally exhaled in relief. The greatest perk of Rebirth is knowing everyone's Achilles heel. At noon, I made time to visit Harmony Gardens for an inspection. The facilities surpassed expectations. With complete professional rehabilitation equipment, I sent Ethan a video. What do you think of this place? His reply came swiftly, solid. Already consulted Indra. If family objects, we can petition the court for compulsory placement. Court, this seems more serious than I anticipated. Mid-contemplation, Julian called. Second sis, eldest sister says you contacted a nursing home. Mom burst into tears when she found out. I'm looking for the best solution, I said calmly. Julian, have you seen Mom's psychiatric evaluation report? The line went silent for a few seconds. What report? I don't know. His voice clearly flustered. The one from 3 months ago. I deliberately kept it vague. The original record seemed different from the submitted version. You're investigating Mom. Julian's voice suddenly rose. Alara, what the hell are you trying to do? All I want is fairness, I murmured. Julian, do you realize the legal consequences of falsifying medical records? The call ended abruptly. A faint smile crossed my lips. My suspicion was correct. That psychiatric evaluation was indeed problematic. And Julian knew it. Back at the office, I immersed myself in preparing the board presentation. When leaving work, my phone showed 3 missed calls from Serafina and a text. Mom needs to see you. Says it's urgent. My guard went up instantly. In my past life, Mom had used this exact excuse to pressure me into signing dubious agreements. I replied, working late tonight. I'll visit the hospital tomorrow morning. Just as I sent the text, Ethan's call came through. Alara, got a minute? I've found something that might interest you. His unusually grave tone put me on alert. What is it about? About your mother, and an altered will. Ethan arranged to meet at a cafe near Juinha Law Firm. Pushing through the glass door, I was greeted by rich coffee aromas. He sat in the corner booth with several documents spread before him. Sorry, just got out of a meeting. He stood to pull out my chair. The cufflinks peeking from his suit sleeves, the very pair I'd gifted him 5 birthdays ago. Never thought he'd kept them. No worries. I just clocked out too. Setting down my briefcase, I had the documents. This the discovery you mentioned. Ethan slid a photocopy across. Your mother's will from 3 months back. Pay attention to the ink at the signature. Leaning closer, I noticed Margaret stood darker than the rest. The strokes bearing subtle inconsistencies. What does this prove? Ink spectrum analysis indicates the signature was written with a different pen than the rest of the document. Ethan flipped open another file. This is the original psychiatric evaluation showing your mother's cognitive functions had significantly deteriorated at the time. Legally, she wouldn't have had full civil capacity. My fingers trembled slightly, so this will is likely invalid. He closed the file. But we'll need more evidence. How's your mother doing now? The doctor said she could be discharged in 2 weeks, but will need professional care. I forced a bitter smile. My siblings are pressuring me to quit my job and take care of her. Ethan's gaze sharpened. Don't agree. Under the law and the protection of the rights and interests of the elderly, filial obligations are equally shared. They have no right to demand you bear this alone. He pulled a USB drive from his briefcase. This contains verdicts from similar cases and evidence collection guidelines. I suggest you start systematically documenting your family's words and actions, especially regarding your mother's mental state. Thank you. As I took the drive, my fingertips accidentally brushed his hand, sending a peculiar electric current down my spine. Why are you helping me? Ethan paused briefly. Because I failed you 5 years ago. His voice was barely above a whisper. When you said you needed to care for your mother and postpone the wedding, I thought it was just temporary. That's all in the past. I cut him off, unwilling to relive those memories. I can protect myself now. Leaving the cafe, I went straight to the hospital. Pushing open the ward door, I saw Serafina and Julian whispering something into Mother's ear. They immediately pulled apart with odd expressions when they noticed me. Alara's here, Mother weakly gestured. Forcing an unnatural smile. I've missed you. My guard went up immediately. Whenever she used that tone in our past life, trouble was sure to follow. Mom, how are you feeling today? I set down my bag and pulled out the brochure for Tranquil Gardens. I visited yesterday. The facilities are really nice. Smack. Mother suddenly knocked the brochure away, her voice rising sharply. I said no nursing homes. Are you just waiting for me to die on the streets? The ward fell silent. The patient in the next bed stared in shock as Serafina immediately put on an act of comforting Mother. Don't get worked up, Mom. Alara only wants what's best for you, for my own good, Mother sneered, jabbing her finger at me. She just wants to get rid of me, ungrateful wretch. After all these years I've raised you. I bent down to pick up the brochure and calmly interrupted her. Mom, the assessor from Harmony Gardens is coming tomorrow, if you genuinely don't want to go. We can cooperate with the evaluation to prove our home care is adequate. What assessor? Julian asked warily. Professional elderly care assessment. I flipped open my planner. It's a joint initiative by the community and hospital. The results will affect future care subsidy applications. This was the strategy Indra taught me, framing the evaluation as an official procedure to minimize resistance. Sure enough, Mother and Serafina exchanged glances and stopped objecting vehemently. Fine. Evaluate away, Mother said with a pout, but I'm not going to any retirement home. By the way, second sister, Julian suddenly leaned in, his tone uncharacteristically sweet, about Mom's old house. If she goes to a retirement home, would we need to sell it to cover the costs? It suddenly dawned on me, that's what they were worried about. In our past life, Mother's two properties were divided. The old house went to Julian, while the new one went to Serafina. Not necessarily, I replied evasively. It depends on the assessment results and subsidy policies, but long-term stays at Kongshin Garden do come with considerable costs. Serafina cut in immediately. Actually, having Mom at home might be better. Julian and I could take on more caregiving duties. Then let's follow the rotation schedule, I said with a smile. By the way, sis, have you seen Mom's psychiatric evaluation report? The hospital mentioned one was done 3 months ago. Serafina's face paled instantly. What report? I don't know anything about that. That's odd. The doctor said a family member accompanied her. I feigned confusion as I turned to Julian. Julian, did you take Mom there? Since when do I have time for that? His voice suddenly sharpened. Why do you keep asking these things? Second sister, Mother suddenly moaned. My head hurts. Her classic illness act again. I pressed the recorder in my pocket. Mom, should I call the doctor? No, don't. She weakly waved her hand. Everyone just go home. I need some time alone. As we stepped out of the ward, Julian immediately grabbed my arm. Second sis, about that evaluation. Can we reschedule? I've got an important client tomorrow. The evaluation is scheduled for everyone. No changes. I shook off his grip. Julian, you seem nervous. Is there something wrong with Mom's mental state? Don't be ridiculous. Beads of sweat formed on his forehead as he turned to leave. I'm going to get Mom some dinner. Serafina caught up. Alara, Mom's getting on in years. She can't handle the stress. About the nursing home. Sis, I cut her off. Do you realize the legal consequences of falsifying medical records? Her eyes widened, face turning deathly pale. What are you implying? Nothing. I smiled. See you tomorrow. 5. The moment I got home, I plugged in the USB drive Ethan gave me. It contained not just legal statutes and case precedents, but a comprehensive evidence-gathering guide, how to legally record audio-video, obtain medical records, challenge questionable wills. Following the guide, I began organizing the evidence I'd collected, recordings of family members shirking responsibilities, written statements from the caregiving agency, shift schedules, and payment records. After systematic organization, the tide was clearly turning in my favor. My phone buzzed abruptly with Leonard's message. Alara, the board's very interested in your project. They want a detailed presentation next week. How's prep going? Mostly ready, I replied, suddenly remembering how in my past life I'd missed this exact presentation during Mom's illness, the misstep that led Victor C's power. Hang in there, he added a rare smiley face. By the way, the Beijing summit feedback was excellent. Headquarters is considering expanding this model. This meant bigger projects and higher positions. Gripping my phone, I swore to myself, this time, I wouldn't let anyone steal my opportunity. The evaluator arrived punctually at the hospital the next morning, a sharp-eyed woman in her 50s named Wu, who spoke with brisk efficiency. Auntie Margaret, we need to assess your daily living skills. She produced a standard questionnaire. First, do you remember what day of the week it is today? Mother frowned in thought. Wednesday, Friday. Assessor Wu noted on the form, "Do you know where you are right now?" "Of course, People's Hospital," Mother replied impatiently. The assessment lasted an hour, including cognitive tests and motor function examinations. Afterward, Assessor Wu called us 3 siblings into the hallway. "The assessment shows your mother scored 45 on daily living activities, indicating moderate dependency. We recommend professional care facility placement." She handed us each a copy of the report. "Especially given her recent fall history, home care poses significant risks," Serafina protested urgently. "My mom just needs temporary assistance." The report indicates notable cognitive decline. Assessor Wu flipped to another page. "With wandering risks, we recommend initiating limited civil capacity proceedings." Limited civil capacity, my heart dropped. This could invalidate her will. "That's absolute nonsense." Julian suddenly flared up. "My mother's perfectly lucid." "What kind of shoddy assessment is this?" The Assessor Wu calmly filed the documents away. "You have the right to request a second evaluation, but based on my professional judgment, your mother requires specialized care." After she left, Serafina immediately pulled me into the stairwell. "Alara, there's something wrong with this evaluation. Mom's nowhere near that bad." "Assessor Wu is a professional," I said, opening the report. "And the findings align with the hospital's psychiatric evaluation." "What psychiatric evaluation?" Serafina's voice trembled. "Alara, if Mom gets declared mentally incompetent, her will." "What about the will?" I stared straight into her eyes. "Sis, did Mom actually make a will?" Serafina realized her slip and backpedaled hastily. I meant hypothetically. "I've seen the will." I laid my cards on the table. "The signature's clearly questionable. And if Mom's cognitive functions were already declining when she made it, you investigated Mom." Serafina turned pale with rage. "Alara, have you no conscience?" "Conscience?" I sneered. "Sis, Mom left both properties to you and Julian. That's what you call conscience." She staggered back in shock. How did you know?" "That's irrelevant." I took a step forward. "What matters is if the will's invalid. The estate gets divided equally among the 3 of us by law." A flicker of panic crossed Serafina's eyes before she hardened her tone. "Over my dead body." Mom made it clear. "The house isn't yours to claim. Then we'll settle this in court." I turned to leave when she suddenly grabbed my arm. "Wait." Her voice softened. "Alara, maybe we can work something out." Watching her shifty gaze, I knew the family alliance was crumbling. That afternoon, I dropped by the office. Leonard was in a meeting when Olivia pulled me aside with a conspiratorial whisper. "Victor's been asking about your family. Seems he's contacted some lawyer." My stomach tightened. "Thanks for the heads up. There's more," she murmured, lowering her voice. "Director Leonard's pushing for you to lead the new APAC project. Double the salary, but Victor's sabotaging it behind the scenes." Just then, Leonard emerged from the conference room and beckoned to me. "Alara, step into my office." His office was spacious and bright, with floor-to-ceiling windows offering a panoramic view of the city. In my past life, I'd fantasized countless times about sitting in an office like this, yet always fell just short. "Are the board meeting materials ready?" He handed me a cup of coffee. "Almost there." I took the coffee, noticing the group photo from the Asia-Pacific Financial Tax Forum on his desk. I stood prominently in the front row. Leonard followed my gaze. "You did well." He paused. "Alara, how's everything at home?" "We've arranged a professional evaluation that recommends rehabilitation center care." I briefed him, "But my siblings have some reservations." "Classic." He nodded. "Families always struggle with 2 things, elder care and inheritance disputes." His bluntness surprised me, but what shocked me more was how accurately he'd pinpointed my situation. "There's a Singapore position opening up after next week's board meeting." He abruptly changed subjects. "I'd like to recommend you. The salary package triples your current earnings." My hand trembled, nearly spilling the coffee. In my past life, this position went to Victor and became the turning point of his career. I'm honored." "Don't answer yet." Leonard smiled. "I know your family situation is complicated, but this opportunity is rare." "I'll handle it," I said firmly. "It won't affect my work." As I left the office, my phone rang. Ethan's message popped up. "How did the evaluation go?" After my brief reply, he called immediately. "Alara, this is promising. If we can prove your mother lacked testamentary capacity when making the will, it could be invalidated. But I need more evidence," I said, walking through the twilight as the autumn breeze carried a faint chill. "I've obtained your mother's original psychiatric evaluation records," Ethan said with steady conviction. "Also, your sister consulted a lawyer today about the will's execution." My heart skipped a beat. "How did you know?" "Industry intel," he said casually. "Alara, you're not alone anymore. Reach out anytime you need me." For some reason, his words made my eyes sting. In my past life, I fought alone and lost everything. This time, at least someone's got my back. "Thanks," I murmured. "By the way, I might be taking a job in Singapore." There was a brief silence on the other end. "Great opportunity," he finally said. "When are you leaving?" "Haven't decided yet," I replied with inexplicable unease. "It's just a possibility. Whatever you choose, remember to protect yourself." Ethan's voice was gentle yet firm. "Don't let anyone steal your life again." Hanging up, I stood on the street watching the city lights flicker to life. For the first time since my rebirth, I sensed possibilities beyond vengeance and resistance. 3 days before the board meeting, I was revising presentation materials in my office when my phone rang with a jarring tone. It was the hospital calling. "Miss Alara, your mother's condition has taken a sudden turn for the worse. Please come to the hospital immediately." My hand jerked, leaving a long ink streak across the document. In my previous life, mother's condition only deteriorated 3 years later. Has the timeline shifted again? When I arrived at the hospital, Serafina and Julian were already standing outside the ICU, their expressions grave. The attending physician was explaining the situation. "The lung infection has triggered multiple organ failure. The prognosis isn't optimistic. How much longer can she hold on?" Julian blurted out, earning a sharp glare from Serafina. The doctor adjusted his glasses. "It's hard to say. Could be days, maybe weeks. The family should prepare themselves." It was just like when mother was dying in my past life. Except back then I cared for her alone till the end, while Serafina and Julian only made occasional appearances. Now the three of us stood together, each lost in our own thoughts. Did Mom have any unfulfilled wishes? Serafina dabbed at non-existent tears in the corner of her eye. "We must fulfill them as her children." As soon as the doctor left, Julian pulled me into a corner of the hallway. "Second sister, about Mom's will." "Julian," Serafina cut him off sharply. "Mom's still lying in there, and you're already thinking about the inheritance." "That's not what I meant," Julian mumbled awkwardly before falling silent, though his eyes kept shifting uneasily. I watched their little drama coldly. "I'm going to call the office to sort out some work." I walked to the hospital garden and called Ethan, briefly explaining the situation. "Once your mother passes, the will execution process will begin," he said gravely. "Alara, I need you to find out where the will is kept, ideally get a copy." "I'll try." I bit my lip, but if the will turns out to be invalid, legally, the estate would be distributed according to statutory inheritance. Ethan paused. "But brace yourself, your siblings won't back down easily." After hanging up, I texted Leonard to explain the situation. He replied promptly, "Family comes first. We can postpone the debrief. Reach out if you need anything." Such understanding was unthinkable in my past life. Back then, taking frequent leave to care for Mom cost me my job. Now, my professional worth is acknowledged. Returning to the ICU waiting area, I found Serafina on a hushed call. "Yes, at People's Hospital. The doctor said it's a matter of days." "The will's with Attorney Zhang." Spotting me, she hung up abruptly. "Alara, Mom woke briefly. She asked for you." "I'll go see her." Slipping into a gown, I entered the ICU. My mother lay on the hospital bed, tubes snaking across her body, looking frilier than I remembered. The steady beeping of monitors marked time like a countdown. Standing by her side, watching the rise and fall of her chest, I felt a storm of emotions. In my past life, I cared for her till the end, only to be met with dying resentment and left with nothing. This time I fought back. Will the outcome be different? "Alara." Her eyes fluttered open suddenly. Her voice faint as if carried from some distant place. "I'm here, Mom." My fingers closed around her hand instinctively, papery skin, cold to the touch. Her gaze was unfocused, yet she struggled to speak. "The house, to Serafina, Julian, you don't." My heart sank like a stone. Even in her final moments, all she could think about was disinheriting me. "Mom, just rest now," I said calmly, releasing her hand. "We'll discuss this later." "No." She suddenly grew agitated, setting off shrill monitor alarms. "You, me." The nurse rushed over at the sound and shot me a disapproving look. "Patients mustn't get agitated." I stepped aside as the nurse administered a sedative to my mother. Her eyelids grew heavy, though her lips still moved silently as if muttering curses. When I stepped out of the ICU, Serafina immediately approached me. "What did Mom say to you?" "Nothing coherent. Just rambling," I replied flatly, then suddenly considered a possibility. "Sis, does Mom keep anything important at home? Should we bring it to the hospital?" "Oh, right." Serafina's eyes lit up. "Mom's old photos and jewelry. I'll go get them. Let me handle it." I volunteered. "You stay here with Mom." Serafina hesitated for a moment. "All right. The keys are in my bag." As she rummaged for them, I noticed her phone screen light up with a text message. "Will confirmed. Ready for execution at any time. Attorney Zhang." After getting the keys, I immediately texted Ethan, "Go to Mom's place to look for will evidence. Be careful. Don't go alone." He replied, "I'll have Indra contact you." Half an hour later, I stood trembling at my mother's doorstep. After being cast out in my past life, I'd never set foot here again. The key turned in the lock with an eerily crisp sound, like floodgates to my memories swinging open. The interior remained largely unchanged. Save for some added medical equipment, I marched straight to my mother's bedroom and began methodically searching. The nightstand held medications and photo albums, the closet contained neatly hung clothes, and the vanity displayed several jewelry boxes, but no trace of a will. Just as I was about to give up, my eyes caught an aged leather trunk beneath Mother's bed, something I'd never seen in my previous life. After struggling to drag it out, I found it secured with a small padlock. Need help? A woman's voice came from behind, startling me so badly I nearly yelped. Turning around, I saw a sharp-looking woman with short hair standing at the door, the scar above her left eyebrow clearly visible in the sunlight. "Indra, how did you get in?" I asked in surprise. "Ethan gave me the key, said you might need a witness." She waved the body cam in her hand. "Carry on, I'm a lawyer, can certify the search is lawful." With a professional present, I felt much bolder. The suitcase's lock was ancient. It popped open with a firm tug. Inside, neatly stacked files awaited, topped by a notarized document titled Last Will and Testament. My hands trembled involuntarily. The first page matched Ethan's copy, 2 properties for Serafina and Julian respectively, a $200K deposit split evenly between them, while I only received a dismissive line. Alara is self-sufficient and requires no inheritance. This will only has one witness. That violates legal requirements. Indra pointed out professionally, and the signature does appear problematic. Digging deeper, I uncovered a passbook at the bottom showing a balance of $500K, contradicting the $200K mentioned in the will. There's an original psychiatric evaluation concluding moderate cognitive impairment, recommended limited civil capacity, completely different from the version submitted to the notary office. Ironclad evidence. Indra photographed all the documents. This is enough to invalidate the will in court. I exhaled deeply. Finally, proof to fight the injustice from my past life. While organizing the files, my phone rang. It was Julian, second sister. "Mom's awake again and keeps calling your name." Indra and I exchanged glances. "I'm heading back now," I answered briefly before asking her, "Could you safeguard this evidence for me?" "Of course." She carefully filed the documents away. "Do you want me to come with you to the hospital?" "No need. I can handle it." Back at the hospital, Julian was pacing anxiously outside the ICU, with Serafina nowhere in sight. "Where's Big Sis?" I asked. Julian's eyes darted nervously as he said, "Second sister, Mom just mentioned about leaving the old house to me. She said it was some urgent family matter." A cold smirk crossed my face. Serafina must be rushing to find the will. Too bad she's already a step behind. Donning the isolation gown, I re-entered the ICU to find Mother's condition had deteriorated further. Her clouded eyes flickered with an unreadable gleam when she saw me. "Alara," her breath came in ragged whispers. "Take care, Mom. What is it you want to say?" I leaned in closer, my heart already numb. Me. She struggled to raise her hand, clutching my sleeve. "No, fighting." I gazed at her quietly as that final scene from my past life flashed before my eyes. "For over a decade you've lived off your sister and brother without earning a penny, just enjoying life at home. Don't you dare fight them for the house after you're gone. You don't deserve it." "Mom," I gently pried her fingers loose. "Don't worry. I'll handle everything by the book." Her eyes suddenly widened as the monitor blared a shrill alarm. Medical staff rushed in, and I was ushered out of the ICU. In the hallway, Julian leaned in. "What did Mom say to you?" "Nothing out of the ordinary," I replied calmly, then noticed a corner of paper peeking from his suit pocket, a lawyer's business card. "Julian, you consulted a lawyer?" I asked point blank. His face changed abruptly. "And no, not at all. Attorney Zhang from Juanha Law Firm." I deliberately got the name wrong. "Not Attorney Zhang. It's Lee." He suddenly realized his slip of the tongue and hastily corrected himself. "I mean, I don't know any lawyers." Just then, Serafina rushed over with an awful expression. "Alara, did you go to Mom's place to get something?" "Yeah, took the photo album and jewelry," I said without batting an eye. "What's up?" "And nothing really," she replied evasively. "It's just, Mom's got this old leather suitcase." "Oh, that thing," I feigned nonchalance. "It's locked. Can't open it." Serafina visibly relaxed before tensing up again. "How's Mom doing now?" "Another emergency," Julian cut in. "Sis, Mom just said she'd leave the old house to me." "That's a lie." Serafina's face darkened instantly. "Mom clearly promised it to me." Watching them bicker over the inheritance like vultures, I quietly stepped back and texted Ethan. "Got the evidence. The will's clearly forged." He replied immediately. "Should I come over now?" "No need. I've got it under control for now." "Alara," Serafina approached abruptly with uncharacteristic warmth. "Given Mom's condition, shouldn't we discuss the funeral arrangements? What do you have in mind, sis?" I feigned compliance. "As the eldest daughter, it's my duty to take charge." She squared her shoulders. "Julian will handle the funeral home. You, since you're busy with work, just receive the relatives. The perfect division of labor." She calls the shots, Julian runs errands, and I do the grunt work. That's exactly how I got sidelined from decision-making in my past life. "Sure," I agreed readily, then pivoted. "But how are we splitting the costs, legally speaking?" Inheritance shares should correspond to filial responsibilities. You, Serafina turned livid. Mom's still here, and you're already counting pennies. Didn't you start making funeral arrangements first? I countered. I just want clarity to avoid misunderstandings later. Julian suddenly cut in. Second sister, do you know where Mom hid the will? No. I met his gaze steadily, but legally, a will must meet formal requirements to be valid. Insufficient witnesses or the testator's mental incompetence could invalidate it. Their faces paled simultaneously. Serafina forced composure. Mom was perfectly lucid when making the will. Really? I pulled up my phone, displaying the original cognitive assessment report I just photographed. Then how do you explain this moderate cognitive impairment diagnosis? Serafina turned deathly pale. While Julian collapsed into his chair. Where did you? Serafina's voice trembled. That's irrelevant. I pocketed my phone. What matters is the will could be overturned if this goes to court. Alara, Serafina suddenly grabbed my hand, tears welling up instantly. We're siblings. Can't we talk this through? How do you want to settle this, sis? I asked calmly. The house? She bit her lip. You can have one room in the old place. I want fairness, not charity. I shook off her hand. Either we split it 3 ways by law, or we'll see each other in court. Julian suddenly jumped up. Second sister, this was all eldest sister's idea. I knew nothing about it. Julian, Serafina shrieked. Watching their pathetic squabble left me cold. In my past life I gave everything and gained nothing. This time, I'll claim what's rightfully mine. As the argument escalated, the ICU doors swung open. The doctor emerged. Family members, the patient is temporarily stable but still critical. Tonight is crucial. Someone should keep vigil. I'll stay, we said in unison, all 3 of us. The doctor hesitated. Technically only one person is allowed. 6, I'm the eldest daughter. Serafina insisted. Mom likes me best. Julian countered defensively. I calmly produced the duty roster. According to our prior arrangement, it's my shift tonight. The hospital finally approved my request to stay. The resentment in Serafina and Julian's eyes as they left was almost palpable. The ICU hallway at midnight was eerily quiet. Sitting on the bench, I scrolled through the evidence photos on my phone when Ethan texted, "Need me to come keep you company?" "No, I've got this," I replied, then added, "Thanks, anytime," came his simple reply that somehow eased my nerves. At 3 a.m., the nurse rushed out. "Miss Alara, your mother's awake. She keeps calling your name." I put on the isolation gown and entered. Mother looked worse than I'd imagined, her face ashen. Yet her eyes burned with an unnatural brightness, like the last flare of a dying candle. Alara, her voice was faint but clear. I'm sorry, I froze. In our past life, she'd never apologized, only blamed me until the very end. The house, it's yours, she gasped with difficulty. Changed. The will. The monitor suddenly blared a shrill alarm as medical staff rushed in. Family members must leave now. The nurse pushed me toward the door, in that final glimpse. I saw my mother's lips tremble as if whispering forgive me. As the ICU doors closed, I slumped against the wall, my legs giving way. No matter how much resentment I'd carried through the years, a pang of sorrow welled up in my chest. After all, she was still my mother. My phone vibrated with Ethan's message. "You okay?" I took a deep breath and replied, "Mom seems to want to change the will, but it might be too late. Alara, whatever happens, remember you're not alone anymore." His reply made my eyes sting. "The law's on your side." Outside, the first light of dawn pierced through the clouds. Whatever today brought, I was no longer the helpless Alara from my past life. My mother took her last breath at dawn. Standing outside the ICU, I watched the doctor pronounce the time of death with an eerie calmness in my heart. In our past life, her final words to me were, "You don't deserve this." Well, this time, she whispered, "Forgive me, whether sincere or not." At least my defiance made her recognize the injustice. Serafina and Julian rushed over after receiving the news, their eyes red and swollen, whether from genuine tears or pretense, who could tell. The moment the doctor finished announcing the death, Julian blurted out, "When can we get the death certificate? The property transfer requires—" "Julian," Serafina cut him off sharply before turning to the doctor. "Did my mother say anything before she passed?" The doctor glanced at me. Miss Alara was the only one present when the patient was last conscious. Their gazes instantly locked onto me. I said calmly, "Mom wanted to change the will." "Nonsense." Serafina's voice suddenly sharpened. "How can we take seriously the ramblings of someone who wasn't in their right mind? Really?" I took out my phone and played a recording. Mother's frail but clear voice came through. "The house, to you, change, the will." The recording cut off abruptly. Serafina turned deathly pale, while Julian collapsed into his chair. This can't be valid," Serafina stammered. "Legally, a dying wish can serve as a codicil to the will." Ethan's voice carried from the end of the hallway. Dressed in a crisp suit and carrying a briefcase, he walked steadily toward us, especially when the original will has material defects. "Who are you?" Julian demanded warily. "Ethan from Junhi Law Firm, legal counsel for MS. Alara." He handed over his business card. We have some legal advice regarding the distribution of Ms. Margaret's estate. Serafina snatched the card and shrieked after a glance. A partner, Alara. Since when could you afford this caliber of lawyer? Attorney Joe is assisting pro bono. I said calmly, sis, let's find somewhere to talk. The cafe near the hospital had just opened. The four of us took a corner table as Ethan retrieved documents from his briefcase. First, Ms. Margaret's original psychiatric evaluation records indicate significant cognitive decline when she executed the will. He slid a copy across the table. Secondly, there's only one witness to the will, which doesn't meet legal requirements. Finally, the listed assets don't match reality. Ms. Margaret had an additional 300,000 in unaccounted deposits. Serafina and Julian turned pale. You're making baseless accusations, Julian shouted, slamming the table as he stood up. Ethan remained unfazed. We have bank statements as proof. If this goes to court, the will could easily be invalidated, and the estate would be distributed according to statutory inheritance. He paused. Moreover, Ms. Alara could claim reimbursement for 15 years of sole financial responsibility for parental care. 15 years, Serafina shrieked. Mom's only been ill for 3 months. According to Article 193 of the General Principles of Civil Law, children's duty to support their parents is equally shared in the absence of prior agreements. Ethan calmly flipped open another document. Over the past 3 months, Ms. Alara has shouldered over 70% of the support obligations and is entitled to seek reimbursement from other liable parties. I watched the dramatic shift in Serafina and Julian's expressions, from fury to shock, then to calculation. In our past life they'd joined forces to throw me out, but this time, the law was my weapon. Alara, Serafina suddenly adopted a pleading tone. We're flesh and blood. Why air our dirty laundry in court for strangers to laugh at? How would you prefer to settle this, sister? I countered. She bit her lip. The house. You can have a room in the old house. I want fairness. Not charity. I repeated last night's words. Both properties are similarly valued. I want half ownership of one, or equivalent cash compensation. The savings should be split 3 ways. Impossible. Julian jumped up. Mom clearly said. Julian. Serafina snapped sharply before turning to me. Alara, we need time to discuss this. Fine. Ethan took over the conversation. Here's my contact. You have 3 days to respond, or we'll proceed with legal action. Stepping out of the cafe into the golden sunlight, Ethan held the car door open. Where to? The office. I fastened my seatbelt. I'm supposed to present at the board meeting today. He arched an eyebrow. You sure about this? The more they push, the less they'll see me as weak. My gaze followed the blur of city lights outside the window. Last life, I surrendered everything and ended with nothing. This time, they'll learn Alara isn't to be trifled with. Ethan chuckled. Now that's the Alara I know. In the corporate lobby, Olivia paced anxiously. Spotting me, she rushed over. Alara, Victor's using your family crisis to convince Director Leonard to replace you in the presentation. Thanks for the heads up. I adjusted my suit jacket. Where is he? The meeting room. But Alara, are you sure? I strode toward the elevator with Ethan following silently behind. At the conference room door, I took a deep breath and pushed it open. Leonard was mid-conversation with Victor when he spotted me, visibly startled. Alara, I thought. Apologies, Director Leonard. A family emergency came up. I moved calmly to the projector, but I'm prepared to deliver the presentation. Victor's face darkened. Alara, the board's time is valuable. Are you sure you're in the right state for this? Never been more clear-headed. I opened my laptop and connected the projector. Regarding the Asia-Pacific cross-border tax optimization proposal, I'll present from 3 key perspectives. 2 hours later, the board chairman personally came to shake my hand. Ms. Alara, your insights are exceptional and the proposal is viable. Director Leonard certainly didn't misjudge you. Leonard wore a rare smile. Alara has always been the cream of our department. As I stepped out of the meeting room, Victor blocked my path. Don't get cocky too soon, Alara, Manager Victor. I replied with a smile. I heard you've been getting rather close to my sister lately. Do give her my regards. His face instantly paled, clearly caught off guard that I knew. In my past life, he and Serafina had teamed up to deliver the final blow when I was at my weakest. Back in the office, Olivia threw her arms around me excitedly. Incredible. The board couldn't stop raving. Director Leonard said the Singapore position has your name written all over it. I smiled my thanks when I suddenly noticed Ethan standing at the end of the hallway, deep in conversation with Leonard. Their grave expression suggested they were discussing something important. Who's that? He's gorgeous, Olivia whispered. My lawyer, I replied curtly, though a warm feeling unexpectedly blossomed in my chest. 3 days later, Serafina and Julian finally conceded, with Indra as witness. We signed the agreement. I received 30% ownership of the old house. Serafina retained 70%. Julian got the new property, and we split the savings 3 ways. In exchange, I waived all claims to backdated alimony while they relinquished any legal challenges to our mother's final wishes. Alara, about Mom's funeral arrangements, Serafina signed the documents and asked tentatively, "Do as you see fit." I filed away the paperwork. "I'll contribute my share, but won't have time for the preparations." Stepping out of the law firm, the sunlight was brilliant. Ethan waited by the car. "Where to?" "Kumshin Gardens," I said. "I want to see the place where Mom spent her final days." Peaceful Haven had such tranquil surroundings, though Mother only stayed there briefly. The director showed us her room, neat and simple, with a small garden visible through the window. Aunt Margaret spent her final days in serenity, the director recalled. She mentioned wanting to see her youngest daughter, said there were important words left unspoken. I stood by the window, watching the garden in full bloom. In my past life, Mother never stopped blaming me till the end. This time, at least she recognized the injustice. "Alara," Ethan called softly, "what are your plans now? Work? Life?" I turned to him, and, "Thank you." He smiled faintly. "I couldn't help you 5 years ago. At least I've made up for it now. You've been keeping tabs on me. I couldn't help asking." He admitted frankly. "Saw your articles in Financial Taxation, knew you were doing well. Until I heard about your mother's illness." My eyes suddenly grew warm. In my past life, I thought the whole world had forgotten me, but someone actually remembered. "Ethan," I met his gaze directly, "if, just hypothetically, someone told you they'd lived a second life, would you believe them?" He paused thoughtfully before answering with complete sincerity. "If it came from you, I would." I smiled through the tears tracing down my cheeks. This time around, I wouldn't have to walk alone. A year later, I stood by the window at Marina Bay Sands in Singapore, gazing at the glittering cityscape. My phone lit up with a message from Serafina. "Mom's death anniversary. Are you coming back?" I replied, "I'll be there to light incense." Ethan approached from behind with 2 champagne flutes. "Leonard just called. Headquarters is extremely pleased with your performance this year." Taking the champagne, I clinked glasses with him. A year ago, I'd taken over the APAC cross-border tax project, now earning triple my previous salary. Meanwhile, Ethan had expanded his law firm's operations to Singapore, marking the beginning of our new chapter. "Really decided to go back?" he asked. "Yeah." I nodded. "There are some loose ends to tie up." On the anniversary of my mother's passing, I came alone to her grave and laid down a bouquet of white carnations. The tombstone bore the names of all 3 children, including mine. "Mom, I'm doing well," I whispered, "much better than in my past life." The breeze carried petals in a gentle dance. I held no resentment, no lingering bitterness. This lifetime taught me to love myself and to forgive, not because they deserved it, but because I deserved peace. Serafina's car pulled up just as I left the cemetery. She rolled down the window. "Alara, join us for lunch. Julian's here too." I checked my watch. "I've got a noon appointment." "Rain check. That Joe lawyer," she probed. "Rumor says he's very well connected." I responded curtly, walking toward the black Audi parked by the roadside. Ethan held the car door open for me. "Where to?" "The airport." I fastened my seatbelt. "Got a meeting waiting in Singapore." As the car pulled away from the cemetery, sunlight streamed through the window onto my hands. I looked down at my palms. Their strong, defined lines spoke of hands that could shape their own destiny. Revenge was never the purpose of rebirth. Living fully is. This time around, I finally understand that truth. The end. Story 2. In my past life, I gave birth to a winged white tiger cub, which elevated me to the highest status among females. My sister, who bore multiple litters yet failed to produce divine offspring, grew consumed by envy. She not only smothered my white tiger cub, but also cast me into raging flames. 1. Crowds of adult males milled about, clad in scanty garments that left little to the imagination. One moment I was being scorched in raging flames, my flesh blistering and peeling with excruciating pain. The next instant, I found myself transported back to the Beastkin selection day, the origin of all misfortunes, raising my eyes to meet my sister Lilac's eager expression. The seething hatred within me made me want to lunge at her throat and sink my teeth into her jugular. Both my sister and I were of the feline kin, the most sought-after lineage in beastkin selection due to our natural beauty and ability to bear 6 offspring per litter. Among the beastkin clans today, the white tiger, white fox, and lion lineages reign supreme. In our past life, my sister, who'd already been intimate with the White Fox clan, unhesitatingly chose the charming and delicate Rafe during the betrothal ceremony. Meanwhile, I was chosen by the White Tiger household and wed to the patriarch's eldest son, Kairos. Though Rafe treated others with warmth, he was hopelessly promiscuous. In a beast world where females are scarce and polyandry is common, Rafe took 5 wives. My sister went from raging and beating Rafe to obsessively pursuing the birth of a divine offspring. Among the 3 great clans, whichever peer produces the first divine offspring inherits the Beast King's throne. Tragically, my sister bore over a dozen cubs, all feeble-minded creatures incapable of even shapeshifting into human form. Yet at that very moment, though I had borne but one child after many years, I was a white tiger adorned with iridescent feathered wings, a celestial marvel. This child was blessed by the beast god's favor. As the entire beastkin race rejoiced, my sister, consumed by unstoppable envy, stormed into my home and strangled the white tiger cub to death. Weak from childbirth, I lay helpless on the ground, watching the cub whimper its last breaths before stillness took hold. Drenched in oil, I was consumed by raging flames until only ashes remained. As I silently emerged from painful memories, the beast king declared the mate selection ceremony officially begun. Just like in my past life, my overeager sister stepped forward first, but this time she bypassed the love-struck Rafe to choose Kairos, my former husband. When Kairos nodded his agreement with a smile, my sister couldn't suppress her triumphant smirk as she shot me a smug sideways glance. Her choice made me realize, my sister has been reborn too. Good, now she'll remember the dying look of that white tiger cub with perfect clarity. Because this time, she'll die the same way, only 1,000 times more horribly. Your turn to choose, little sister. Lilac clung to Kairos' arm with the arrogance of a queen who'd already claimed her throne. Little did she know, beneath that towering, majestic frame lay a hollow shell of a man. Worse yet, his sterility ensured he could never sire offspring. As for why I alone could bear divine progeny, that's because my gaze involuntarily drifted to Thorn standing silently beside Kairos. Thorn had always been aloof by nature. In my past life as his sister-in-law, he treated me with distant courtesy. He never married, claiming to have no desire for such things, until that day when, battered and bloodied after Kairos' abuse for failing to bear children, I crawled to his doorstep begging for help. His tenderness left me both intoxicated and apprehensive. Moira, hurry up. Are you telling me none of these exceptional males meet your standards? Lilac was deliberately stirring the pot. I choose Thorn. At these words, Thorn looked over with evident surprise. I worried Thorn might refuse. After all, even in our past life, it took considerable coaxing before he agreed. Fortunately, though visibly taken aback, Thorn didn't voice any objections. A wave of relief washed over me. Lilac scoffed at my choice. After all, Thorn was never one for competition. As serene as chrysanthemums in autumn, the matchmaking ceremony concluded. And Lilac was now inseparable from Kairos. Rafe, cast aside and seething, couldn't take it anymore and stormed over to confront them. Lilac, you swore you loved me, that you'd choose me. How could you change your mind at the last second? Rafe stormed over and grabbed Lilac's arm in a fit of anger. That's nonsense. Just because I exchanged a few words with you doesn't mean I have feelings for you. This is utterly unfair. Lilac's eyes welled up with tears as she cast a pleading glance at Kairos standing nearby. While polyandry is common in the beast world, noble families typically practice monogamous pairings. Kairos stroked Lilac's face approvingly, pried Rafe's hand off her, and punched him square in the jaw. His massive fists pummeled Rafe mercilessly, leaving the man's face swollen and bruised. Only when warriors from both clans pulled them apart did Kairos reluctantly withdraw, watching Kairos defend her honor. Lilac blushed with satisfaction, utterly indifferent to Rafe's battered state. The prouder Lilac acts now, the harder that fist will hit her later. She won't be laughing then. With Kairos leading Lilac away, only Thorn and I remained in the sudden quiet. I followed Thorn back to his place. Thorn maintained his usual stoic silence during the walk, yet something about this quiet felt different from his typical aloofness in our past life. 3. Back home. Thorn didn't seem in the mood to show me around and went straight into his room. After hesitating for a few seconds, I followed him inside. Thorn was sipping tea in the study, saying nothing when he saw me enter. Gathering courage, I moved closer and sat beside him, tears welling up in my eyes as I spoke with a hint of grievance. Thorn, your silence. Does it mean you're not interested in me? Thorn remained wordless after my question. A pang of inexplicable hurt struck me. He'd been so tender and devoted in our past life. In that previous existence, whenever Kairos wounded me, Thorn would always carefully tend to my injuries. Later, he offered to take me away, but consumed by my hatred for Kairos, I stubbornly refused to leave. I made Kairos raise his own brother's son in complete ignorance. I thought I'd relish this thrill of vengeance. Yet the cruel truth remains, my paranoia and foolishness not only drove away Thorn who loved me, but also cost the lives of our child and myself. At this realization, uncontrollable sobs racked my body as tears streamed down my face in endless rivulets. All I heard was a resigned sigh before being enveloped in a warm embrace. Thorn's hand gently stroked my back as he nuzzled my cheek affectionately. I greedily inhaled his scent, feeling my heart finally settle into place. If you like Kairos, why choose me? Thorn's sudden remark left me completely baffled. Who told you I liked Kairos? I feel a bit odd. You couldn't take your eyes off him just now. And Thorn trailed off with a hint of bitterness. I immediately sensed something was off with Thorn, because he was acting exactly like Thorn after he fell in love with me in our past life. And what? I pressed eagerly, but no matter how I asked, Thorn remained silent. Have you been reborn too? I asked point blank. The shock in Thorn's eyes told me I'd guessed right. I buried my face in Thorn's chest, fighting back tears again. Everything has come full circle. But Thorn remains the same Thorn who loves me, now as my beast mate. The thought filled me with joy, yet when I turned to Thorn, I saw hesitation flicker across his face. Aren't you happy? No. It's just, Moira, do you not care for Kairos anymore? Thorn clenched his fingers nervously as he spoke, visibly agitated. I don't love him anymore. He beats me and made me barren. I wish he'd drop dead this instant. How could I possibly love such a man? I frowned. Visibly disgusted at being associated with Kairos. Then why did you stay with him in your past life? Thorn's words suddenly made sense of all his inner turmoil and aloofness. I rested my head against his shoulder in frustration, because I resented him and wanted revenge. Didn't he want a child? Let him raise another man's child. When he grows attached to our baby, I'll reveal the truth. That moment of devastation, that's when I'll kill him. Thorn held me tight with a pained heart as he heard my bitter words. Silly you, never mind. What's done is done. We've got a fresh start now. That's all that matters as long as we're together. For, with our hearts unburdened and reunited, Thorn and I began savoring every moment of our life together. In my free time, I'd go hunting in the woods with Thorn. Don't let his refined appearance fool you. The man's arms are pure muscle. He could effortlessly take down a wild boar with his bare hands. We spend our days admiring flowers, gazing at the moon, sharing joys, and occasionally preparing for the arrival of our white tiger cubs, living in bliss like a beautiful dream. Meanwhile, Lilac, living 100 miles away, was quite different. Her neighbors said she and Kairos spent their days in constant revelry. Even the jaguar neighbor who'd seen it all couldn't help but blush at the commotion. Sadly, no matter how much noise they made, it wouldn't help. If Lilac didn't conceive soon, she'd be in for trouble. Half a year after Thorn and I became mates, I still hadn't gotten pregnant, but we weren't worried. We cherished these moments when it was just the two of us in the wilderness, and besides, Thorn showed remarkable restraint. I know Thorn is being considerate of me, worried that past experiences might make me fearful or uncomfortable with intimacy. Though I miss the little white tiger cub, I truly appreciate Thorn's tender care. Thorn and I were sanding bamboo that day, planning to make some new furniture for our home, but then a furtive, uninvited guest appeared at our doorstep. I jumped when I saw a head cautiously peeking through the doorway. Lilac. I could hardly recognize the figure completely wrapped in animal hides standing before me. It's me. Lilac hurried in, glancing over her shoulder repeatedly as if avoiding someone. Moira, have you been reborn too? You know Kairos has a violent temper and certain inadequacies, which is why you chose his brother instead. Lilac's words dripped with accusation. If you're here to pick a fight today, you can leave right now. I rolled my eyes in exasperation and turned to shoo her out. No, dear sister, I'm truly at my wit's end. My health is perfectly fine, yet somehow there's still no sign of pregnancy. I watched Lilac's crocodile tears without the slightest sympathy. Seeing this tactic wasn't working, Lilac deliberately loosened the animal hides covering her face and arms. Crimson marks covered every inch of Lilac's body, leaving no patch of unblemished skin. Sister, look, if I can't bear offspring soon, Kairos will literally beat me to death. Lilac clutched my hand desperately, her eyes brimming with tears as she pleaded. Her grip left red marks on my arm. Just as I tried to shake free, Thorn returned. Thorn shoved Lilac aside and cradled my red-marked arm in his hands, tenderly stroking the bruises while glaring at Lilac with unmistakable hostility. Lilac's body trembled involuntarily at Thorn's expression, her fear of him written plainly across her face. Lilac, Kairos is bad news. Stay away from him. Just spread the word about how he harms females. Given how precious females are to our kind, the beastmen will rally to your defense. I offered the advice sincerely, though knowing Lilac as I did, I doubted she'd heed it. No, I can't leave him. I mustn't. I still need to bear the winged white tigers. I will become the most revered female, just as I expected. Hearing the obsession with power in Lilac's words, I knew she was beyond redemption. Sister, I beg you, tell me what I should do. To everyone's shock, the normally haughty Lilac actually dropped to her knees. I crouched down to meet her eye level and slowly whispered in her ear, Kairos is sterile. He can't possibly have offspring. Arching an eyebrow, I thoroughly enjoyed watching the stunned expression on Lilac's face. Impossible. Then how did you have offspring in your previous life? Lilac still wore an expression of utter disbelief. It's quite simple. Our feline clan shares ancestry with the tiger lineage. Even without a tiger partner, we can still bear divine tiger cubs. If Kairos is infertile, just find someone who can conceive instead. Lilac had an epiphany listening to me, yet couldn't resist snapping back after getting the answer she wanted. Since when did my innocent little sister stoop to such vulgar behavior? Females naturally take multiple mates, what makes Kairos so special, and even rabbits bite when cornered. Sister, have you forgotten how I died in my past life? I deliberately unsheathed my razor-sharp claws, flashing them menacingly before Lilac's eyes. A terrified Lilac scrambled out of my house in panic. Does your arm hurt? Thorn asked with concern. I'm fine now, but why is Lilac so scared of you anyway? Lilac was clearly terrified of Thorn's presence just now, because in our past life, She died by my hand. Hearing this, I grew curious about what happened after my death in that previous life and pestered him to tell me. Turns out, in that past life, Thorn arrived drawn by the thick smoke before Lilac could even flee after killing me. Gazing at his burning remains, a heartbroken Thorn split Lilac in half with furious vengeance. He recklessly clashed with Kairos again, but ultimately fell beneath his opponent's crushing fists. Somehow, Thorn abandoned his ascetic demeanor for several consecutive days, 5, clingy and transformed, as if he'd become an entirely different person. Thorn, that's enough, let me go. I had just woken up from my nap and needed to use the bathroom, then I realized Thorn was clinging to me like an octopus. Limbs wrapped around me. Moira's awake. Thorn completely ignored my words and kept nuzzling his head against me. Let me go. I need to use the bathroom. Only then did Thorn release his grip, muttering instinctively, get lost. I'll go with you. I shoved Thorn aside and scampered off gleefully into the woods to answer nature's call. Only after my relentless interrogation in bed did Thorn finally spill the beans about his sudden personality shift. Turns out he'd misread my conversation with Lilac that day. Thinking I wanted to add more males to the mix, that's why he's been clinging to me like glue. I couldn't help rolling my eyes at that. With that wild imagination, it's a shame they're not writing fiction, but Thorn's efforts these days paid off. I'm actually carrying his cub now. Orcs have naturally heightened senses. When I first felt that little life inside me, I literally jumped for joy. Thorn was the same, just grinning like an idiot the whole time, in my past life. Shortly after I became pregnant, Kairos confined me indoors until delivery. Thorn was completely absent during the pregnancy and barely saw the child. This time he's gone all out with preparations. Just 2 months into my pregnancy, Thorn began stockpiling animal hides for baby clothes and crafting a wooden crib. He even made a tiny bow, saying he'd teach our child archery when they're born, archery lessons. He's really getting ahead of himself, but seeing how happy he looked, I didn't have the heart to dampen his enthusiasm. Shortly after I got pregnant, news came from Lilac. She was expecting too, just as we'd suspected. Time flew by as wild grasses sprouted through the earth, the weather gradually warming. Spring had arrived. The white tiger cub was born on such a radiant spring day, when blossoms bloomed and the heavens seemed to shimmer with extraordinary light. Exhausted from the prolonged labor, I lay on the bed. Yet tears still welled up the moment I saw the newborn cub. A pair of iridescent wings fluttered brilliantly, identical to those from its past life. Its snow-white fur was still damp, barely the size of my 2 palms together. My cub came to me again. This time, Mother will protect you for sure. Within a day of giving birth, news of my winged white tiger cub spread through the beastkin tribes. Beastkin believe females who bear divine offspring are blessed by the beast god. Having given birth to a divine cub, I regained the beastman's reverence just like in my past life. My newborn Emery, being the first divine cub of this generation in the Tiger clan, was tacitly acknowledged as the next beast king. Amidst the joyous celebrations, Lilac went into labor too. She delivered a clutch of eggs. As I listened to Sister Leopard vividly describe the scene, even the midwife's hands trembled while carefully carrying out those eggs one by one. 6. When Kairos' parents saw those eggs, their faces turned livid with rage. Kairos nearly smashed the eggs right then and there, had Lilac not rushed in to shield them just in time. Hearing all this, I couldn't help but chuckle. She actually bought that nonsense about feline tribes birthing divine tigers. I just made that up on the spot, afraid she'd connect the winged white tiger cub to Thorn. But Lilac proved even dumber than I imagined, betting an egg-laying beastman of all creatures. Might as well hang a neon sign announcing she's got another mate. Other beastmen might let this slide, but Kairos is a different story. As one of the 3 great clans of Beast City, maintaining racial purity is paramount. For the White Tiger clan's eldest son to lay a clutch of eggs, what an unspeakable disgrace. Lilac is in for a world of trouble this time. A thought struck me. I returned to my room, scribbled a note, found an empty basket, and tacked the message at the very bottom. I buried it under all the precious tonics Thorn had recently given me for my health. Packing the basket to the brim, Sister Leopard, though my sister bore cubs from another male, polyandry is perfectly natural. The Kairos family is making a mountain out of a molehill. My poor sister, I feigned sympathy. Exactly, name one female who doesn't have multiple mates. That Kairos is just being petty, if you ask me. Sister Leopard, who kept 3 males in her own den, nodded vigorously in agreement. You said it. Here, I've got some nourishing treats. Could you discreetly deliver them to my sister? Just make sure Kairos doesn't see, or she'll never get to taste them. I carefully handed the basket to Sister Leopard. Moira, don't you worry. I'll personally deliver this to Lilac with my own hands. Sister Leopard thumped her chest in reassurance. Watching Sister Leopard walk away, a smile curled at the corners of my mouth. Everything is getting interesting. I've been living leisurely these days, tending flowers when free, playing with my dear Emery, getting cozy with Thorn, while anticipating good news from my lovely sister. Lilac acted swiftly. Within half a month, Thorn was summoned to his parents' home, then rushed back in white mourning clothes. What's going on? I asked knowingly. Kairos is dead, ambushed by Hawk, the Lion King's eldest son, beaten half to death, then tossed into the wild woods for the vultures. Thorn's words nearly made me burst out laughing, but since Kairos was still his brother after all, I held it in. Go ahead and laugh. Don't hold back. Thorn kissed my forehead. I was the one who told Lilac to do this. Since she bore another man's child, Kairos would never let her live, so I had her strike first, lure Kairos out of the territory, then send her to Hawk. You know I'd never let this grudge go unavenged. Honesty is everything between partners. Make no mistake, Kairos will die. Thorn's seen me persecuted before. I know he'll understand. Good. I always knew our Moira was the sharpest. Thorn reassured me with an easy laugh. Even if neither of us lifts a finger, Kairos will die. He's made too many enemies. It's what he deserves. Thorn was absolutely right. Kairos had been stirring up trouble left and right, relying solely on brute strength and his status as the Beast King's son. During the mate selection ceremony, he mercilessly beat Rafe, earning the Fox clan's enmity. As for Hawk, he once had an older brother named Milo. Milo and Kairos used to hunt together as children, but their partnership ended in a violent clash over prey distribution. Kairos delivered a final punch that sent the already critically wounded Milo into the river, injured and immobilized in the raging currents. Milo drowned helplessly, his body never recovered. With no concrete evidence, the Lion Clan had no choice but to let the matter drop, but Hawk, who revered his brother as a father figure, never missed an opportunity to seek Kairos' death. After Kairos' demise, Lilac was cast out of her home and vanished without a trace, carrying several eggs with her. 7. Rumor has it that someone saw a magpie pecking at Lilac's unhatched egg, with scraps of her pelt scattered everywhere, likely devoured by wild beasts. Everyone began pitying the female in silent unison, but I knew better. This was far from over. Lilac doesn't die that easily. She's plotting something. This death act, just a ruse to lull me into lowering my guard, to prevent history from repeating itself. Thorn has been hunting more aggressively these days to minimize his trips outside. Meanwhile, I've been busy setting up traps near our doorstep every day, ensuring we'd notice if Lilac ever showed up. I've been on high alert constantly. Ears perked at the slightest rustle, but after 2 whole months, long enough for baby Emery to take flight, Lilac still hasn't appeared. I'm starting to wonder if she's actually dead. After much deliberation, I concluded that Thorn's constant presence at home left Lilac no opportunity to act recklessly, to relieve my frayed nerves and lure Lilac out sooner. That day, I deliberately had Thorn make a show of leaving before secretly staking out our doorstep. Sure enough, the ruse quickly drew Lilac out. At the sound of a click from the doorway, I quickly locked baby Emery in the inner room. He appeared to be leisurely enjoying lunch, but his foot kept tapping uncontrollably. The figure outside kicked open the bolted door, and a gaunt, furious Lilac stormed in, so changed I barely recognized her. You're here. My indifferent attitude infuriated Lilac, who lunged at me with claws bared. I slapped her across the face with all my strength, leaving Lilac momentarily stunned. A kick to the back of her knee sent her crashing down as I pinned her throat with my talons. Cornered and desperate, Lilac began screaming for help. Tobias, save me, help me. Moments later, a beastman clad in feathered robes descended from the sky, but before Lilac could rejoice for more than a few seconds, the beastman named Tobias was ambushed by the lurking Thorn. That's all you've got? How dare you come here? I looked at the trapped prey with undisguised contempt. Moira, you deceived me about the secret of childbirth, only to reclaim your position as the most revered female. I hate you, hate the little bastard you bore, hate every last one of you. Had I known this day would come, I should have strangled you in your cradle to end this rivalry forever. Power and fame had driven Lilac mad, her thirst for dominance becoming downright demonic. Sister, the power you cherish means nothing to me. Moira, drop dead, you vile creature, even buried you'd fester into black ooze, you damned. Before Lilac could finish, I drove my claws deep into her throat. Her bulging eyes rolled back as she convulsed, then fell still forever. Lilac, seeing this, Tobias at the door wrenched free from Thorn's grasp and rushed in, pulling Lilac into a tight embrace. The mingling of tears and blood made my vision swim with dizziness. When I opened my eyes again, my head was pounding. This doesn't look like home. 8. Looking around, the place was packed with orcs in their finest attire, buzzing with excitement. Kairos, Thorn, Lilac, and even Milo were here. This was unmistakably a mating ceremony. I've been reborn again. How did this happen? Did I die again? Or does everything reset when Lilac dies? Does that mean I can never truly kill her? I can't process this. I clearly succeeded in killing both Kairos and Lilac. My cub is thriving. Thorn and I are fully mated, and I've never been happier. But what shattered me even more was Lilac choosing Thorn first, and him not refusing. I screamed hysterically, lunging forward desperately to grab Thorn, but of course I failed. Frozen in place, I could only stand there, chosen by the Tiger clan and betrothed to Kairos. No, Moira, what's wrong? Did you have a nightmare? I bolted upright in bed, sending baby Emery tumbling head over heels from where he'd been lying on my stomach. I quickly reached out to catch him. Seeing Thorn's worried face before me, I clutched his hand tightly, the warmth reassuring me it had only been a nightmare. Thorn took a clean handkerchief and gently dabbed the sweat from my forehead. I was still shaken. The dream had felt so terrifyingly real. Lilac and Thorn bore divine offspring, while I was slain by Kairos for failing to conceive after all these years. I confided all this to Thorn. Don't overthink it. Nothing will change. I could never love Lilac. You're the only one I want. Thorn held me close, murmuring these words tenderly, but I'm just so upset. Why have I been overthinking everything lately? I furrowed my brows, fighting back the tears threatening to fall. Maybe it's because of him. Thorn lowered his gaze, his large hand resting on my abdomen. I only hesitated for a second before catching on. Do I have another cub? I felt a surge of delight. Thorn gave a firm nod. Little Emery fluttered over and began sniffing around my belly. I cupped my hand over my stomach, gently stroking it. Tears of joy streamed down my cheeks. How wonderful to have you and our baby. The arrival of our second cub brings even more uncertainties, whether it's male or female, or blessed with divine traits. We can't know yet, but any cub born to Thorn and me will be perfect. Heard Hawk's childhood sweetheart also delivered, a divine cub with horns. The Lion tribe's beast king succession is finally settled. 9. Chirp chirp. A series of urgent chirps came from outside the door. I was wiping little Emery's face when the noise made the eager hatchling flap its tiny wings, desperate to get outside. Coming. With a smile, I opened the door to find several divine magpie fledglings hopping about, their feathers shimmering metallic teal, crowned with tiny horns and webbed duck-like feet. Before they fluttered onto my shoulders, Emery will be ready soon. You guys just hang tight for a bit longer. Today Tobias is taking the little ones to Gushia to see the ocean. The forest-dwelling youngsters were absolutely thrilled by this novel experience. Baby Emery, who usually sleeps in, miraculously woke up early today. Even the unborn little one in her belly wouldn't stop kicking with excitement. I have to say, are all magpie chicks this talkative? Ever since they came inside, they haven't stopped chirping. Are magpie babies always this chatty? I don't remember Lilac being this talkative. After getting the little ones ready, I brought them to the door where Tobias was already waiting. I gave him a slight nod in acknowledgement, and we didn't exchange any further words. Tobias wasn't exactly friendly toward me. He still resents me. After all, he genuinely loved Lilac too. Rumor has it that during the matchmaking ceremony, Tobias took an instant liking to Lilac. He even deliberately stood by her side, but Lilac didn't spare him a single glance. Why did Lilac choose him to father her child? Tobias knew Lilac was struggling and wanted to help, so he lingered around her home hoping to see her. Confined to limited spaces, Lilac could only encounter Tobias as the sole male presence. Lilac thought she'd successfully seduced him. Unaware Tobias had walked into the trap willingly. Rumor has it that Lilac's remains have been perfectly preserved by him to this day. As for why he maintains this arm's-length relationship with me, it's because Lilac's newly hatched offspring contracted a fever unique to the feline clan, leaving Tobias no choice but to seek my help. Over time, the magpie fledglings became frequent visitors to my clinic, and Emery's kid ended up befriending the magpie chicks. Maybe our children will mend the rift between my sister and me. I stood by the door, staring blankly at the direction they'd gone. What are you looking at? Thorn wrapped his arms around me from behind. I was wondering, aside from the beast god's favor, does conceiving a divine offspring also require at least one parent's genuine love? It's not impossible, Thorn pondered before speaking, but none of that matters now. When Emery grows up, whether he chooses to become the so-called beast king is entirely up to him. A peaceful and stable life isn't necessarily bad. With greater power comes greater responsibility. As long as baby Emery is happy, that's all that matters. Weak from childbirth, I lay collapsed on the ground, helplessly watching as the newborn whimpered its last breaths before going still. My Thorn's thoughts aligned perfectly with mine. No wonder we're made for each other. Oh dear, Thorn, my tummy feels a bit upset. By the time little Emery came home carrying the small sea fish Tobias caught for him, baby Kea was already kneading in my arms. The moment Emery spotted his sister, he dropped the fish and eagerly nuzzled up to Kea, rubbing against her repeatedly. 10. Little Kea bears the same markings as me on her back, with butterfly-like wings between her shoulder blades just like Emery's. Absolutely breathtaking. The whole family was beaming with joy, except for baby Emery, who was sulking after missing his sister's birth. Emery's sweetheart, Didn't you bring a present for your baby sister when you went out? I said, watching Emery pout with his bottom in the air and face buried in frustration. Whimper. Hearing this, Emery immediately picked up the fish in its mouth and placed it before Kea. Unfortunately, Kea didn't even open her eyes. She didn't even have teeth to begin with, but little Emery's mood brightened up anyway. My heart swells with sweetness as I gaze upon our two adorable little ones and my beloved partner. Eagerly anticipating each new day together, we'll wander through blooming mountain flowers, stroll in winter wonderlands, splash in summer's heat, and bask in autumn's crimson leaves of love and